So Levis will throw. Touchdown! Rashawn Lewis.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
Well protected. Wide open is high and running free. A total bust and a quick strike for the Volunteers.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
June plants his back foot, pressure again. There's Singleton with some space. Jeremy Singleton, high, score, touchdown Houston, 28 yards.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
O'Connell, over the middle, he's got Hopkins, the tight end. No one in front, can they catch him? Bryson Hopkins to the touchdown, 72 yards.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Moving up, running for it. Thompson Robinson has the first down, still straddles the sideline, cuts it back. DTR inside the 20. He'll go. Touchdown, UCLA.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It is the night of the first round of the NFL draft. There's news on the college football playoff dates for 2024. That's not this coming season, the next. A huge commitment for Alabama at quarterback that might help what they were maybe struggling with a little bit at a position at quarterback. Much more to get to, and maybe a couple of nuggets about realignment too. And the rich get richer in women's basketball. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. It's Emery Winter and also Garrett Ross. Garrett, show the picture. And thank you to so many of you who were concerned about us. This is Garrett's wife's sister. Is that right?
It's a coworker, yeah.
Coworker, okay. There's the front windshield from the hail. And we left, and we got out of here pretty quickly. Most everybody else kind of stayed a little bit. Craig, a little bit. I got out of here because I thought I was going to try to beat the hail because we knew it was coming. And I got about a mile or two down the road, and it just started hammering me. I jumped the curb into a grassy area towards this building. I don't know what it was, and got under a big oak tree. And you don't have to show does the video show the hail, Garrett, the one that I sent to you?
Yeah, it shows it.
Here is what I was underneath an oak tree. You can see leaves and stuff like that, but you can see in the forefront a lot of hail. There's one right there that just hit. And if you heard the audio, there's a radio station playing in the background that's out of Dallas. And so I got hammered. I have one seriously pretty good-sized dent on the front hood up north towards the windshield. I saw some bad stuff. Some people with handfuls of hail. Craig, you survived on your way down south of I-35.
Yeah, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, from my end, there's some pretty good hail. I mean, getting out of downtown, just around the corner, got caught off guard by just the pop of hail hitting the roof of my car, and then it started to come down pretty good, and I thought a window might bust out at one point. But, yeah, I was able to drive out of that within about a minute or so, and I don't know, it was fine. It was just off and on raining, and, yeah, there were tornado sirens and stuff, but it was okay on my end for the most part. But did come close to, maybe having a window busted or something, so glad I don't have to worry about that.
It was pretty serious. Paul, you got fortunate, correct?
Yeah, I stayed here for about 20 minutes after you guys left because my fiance had said, like, hey, it's really bad over here and the sirens are going off. Well, I'm not going to drive into it. I'll just wait here. At least here I can seek shelter if it comes this way, if there were all that. So I did. I watched the hail come down. I was a little worried about my car. I think I was protected because we parked behind the building here. I was a little protected by the building. So nothing bad with my car. I waited for, I was following along with Brady Taylor, our local meteorologist, jumped in the car when it kind of passed, drove through some pretty violent rain. I mean, it was raining hard when I got down MLK, but once I turned onto Lakeshore, it was fine.
Well, we all made it. Thank you for so many of you that were concerned about us because it was bad, and there were sirens, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and it got worse, really, in some cases later in the night. And it's supposed to be a really, really kind of heavy day of rain again. I think it's tomorrow or Saturday, but it's part of the April, May coming up, the heat and the cool, and it's part of living, of course, most anywhere. So there's that. Now, the 2024 college football playoff dates, this is the first time when they go to 12 teams. That's Brandon Marcello. He put this up. A lot of others did too. The first round will be that third week in December, the week before Christmas, and then the quarterfinals will be the weekend, or I don't know, it's, Tuesday, December 31st, Thursday, January 1st, and Wednesday, January 1st. So there's the quarterfinal days. They're all stacked together over 3 days. And then the semifinals a week later, and then the championship game now January 20th as the championship game goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the month of January.
All right. The only thing I don't like about this is the 2-week gaps that you have. I'd like to just move after the conference championship game, roll it in. Let's go. Let's not wait 2 weeks and then have a couple you have it, and then you wait 2 weeks, and then you play another week, and then you wait 10 days, and you play again. No, roll, go, let's go.
There's nothing wrong with them playing when there's bowl games, even the ones in early December or mid-December. I'm not sure exactly when most of them start. Craig?
I guess, it's partly just trying to give guys a little bit of a break, I would imagine. I mean, they're going to be playing suddenly, 17 games, or what would it be? It'd be
could be 17.
15, 16, 17 games. So, I mean, we are talking about college players at this point and not NFL guys, although pretty soon they'll probably be, almost one and the same in so many ways. But, yeah, I mean, that is more of a way to give them some more breathing time in between, some more rest time, I guess. I don't know. I would love to hear more about the strategy with coming up with this and how all that worked, and I'm sure the TV networks had their input. It is kind of weird to have these games and 10 days go by and then you're playing again and then it's 9 days. It's just very kind of jagged. The schedule is not a real smooth looking schedule where it's just all right, every Saturday for the month of December, I know I'm going to be seeing this. It's it's a Sunday, it's a Saturday, it's 10 days, it's 7 days. So probably need to look at that a little bit more, but I just, the thing that pops out to me is I hate that Monday night national championship game.
Yeah.
I don't like that date. So yeah, Friday, Saturday, that's cool, but then Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, what?
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I guess that's an or there for the quarterfinals, and then Thursday, Friday. So there's playing every day of the week basically. There's Friday, Saturday for your first round, Tuesday, Thursday for your quarters. Is Wednesday possibly getting in the quarters as well? Your Thursday, Friday, and then your Monday. You get in the champ. So all 7 days of the week are being graced with, it looks like every day but a Sunday is getting graced with a game. So that'll be interesting. And, yeah, I don't really love the Monday night national championship game. Maybe if they did it a little differently or presented it a little bit differently, it would be better, I guess. But I don't know. I just don't like that. It's just the week starts, the week's and it's just done. It's just done like that. There's the buildup gets killed by the weekend before it, as we already have discussed many times before. So you kind of lose some of that because of the NFL. And, that's oh, yeah, by the way, national championship games tonight. And then by Tuesday, it's over with. And I think there's a better way to do that, but I'm not going to complain too much. That's what works for them, so we'll see how that goes.
I don't know if that means those are the dates or those are the ones being – I think that's what they said the dates would be. One of the things that's interesting to me is why not play – the national championship, figure out a way, back time it, whatever, to play on a Thursday night. Play on a Thursday night before the NFL has their weekend of playoffs, which is going to be usually on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, or whatever days those are. And they would be, a couple of weeks into their season, a couple of weeks into their playoffs, which would be the divisional playoff game.
If you're talking about 2 months, which is essentially what you're doing between Thanksgiving when the regular season ends and the national championship game, I think there's just maybe not like take out all the days I was saying before, but like you can tighten this up a little bit. It can flow better than this. Now, look, this is the first pass at it, and that's must be what they have to do to fill in the dates that are just 18 months from now. But I think as they make the contract, and we've heard Tim Brando say this all the time, take back December. They may not be able to. They really may not be able to because they let it go for so long and let the NFL run December. But they're not doing any better by putting the championship game on Monday the 20th. That's just not going to do anything for anybody.
All right, so the regular season for most everybody other than Army Navy ends at the end of November. There are the college playoff or the college conference championship games in early December. So the teams that play in that game that make the college football playoff, those who might be at large will play. Put that back up again, Garrett, if you don't mind. Will play at large games. Still going to be almost 2 full weeks. And those who are the top 4 seeds will not play for nearly a month.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Because if let's say they play, I'm just using December 5th, whatever that Saturday might be or Friday, Saturday, you're looking at almost a month between when they would play, that's the top 4 seeds, and others will, again, and that's part of getting a top 4 seed, but that's a long wait.
Yeah, that is a long wait. And I'll also tell you one thing, and this is minor, but Monday, January 20th of 2025, you know what's happening that day?
Yeah, I know it is.
It's inauguration day.
Yeah, but that's in the morning.
But it's kind of an all day, like as far as news goes, like it's going to be an exhausting day for America because most of us aren't going to like what's happening. So, I don't know. I think you want to have the college football playoff on a better day than Monday 1 and a better day than when most people are going to be in a bad mood.
Half the people will be.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we could either way. We're going to have like a 900-year-old person running the country. So, I mean,
that's the guarantee that we have.
Like
that's what we've done.
I promise you, the next president of the United States will know what it was like when movies cost a nickel.
Yeah, you're right. And newspapers were thrown on your front porch and all that other stuff. It's 3:12. This is 365 Sports. We'll have Kirk McNair, covers Alabama, with us in about 10 minutes on the Tyler Buchner story. Let's discuss that ourselves as well. As Notre Dame quarterback Tyler Buchner, he was just in the portal. A lot of thoughts were Alabama. He's going to Alabama. Now, does this solve their problem? Is he good enough to solve their problem?
I think if he was, he maybe wouldn't be in the transfer portal. But to solve it for sure, he's a better player than they maybe have, but he's also fought through injuries and inconsistency and all this. So, yeah, he's got the most potential, like I said the other day, most potential, most eligibility at the biggest position of need. So he's going to be really sought after. What it tells me that they acted so fast on this is this great quarterback room that they think they have is not really all that great right now. And Nick Saban, again, is making moves that show that he is playing from behind for the first time in his tenure at Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, amazing how quickly that came together, huh? Just right away, just boom, there's Bama. I get that they had a need, but, that – and look, he visited there at least, right? So there was at least some connection, but that came across and happened pretty quickly. To some extent, I get it. I mean, on the one hand versus some other guys who jump in the portal, he's not a starter that's suddenly jumping in the portal to go somewhere else. He lost the competition, so he wasn't going to be the starting quarterback, so that's a bit more understandable. But, yeah, I mean, quarterbacks in general at a premium. Alabama clearly had a need there exiting spring, and so I'd imagine you get contacted by them whenever that occurred, and you go down to Tuscaloosa, they wine and dine you, then you see the opportunities that are there, and I'm sure that's pretty hard to pass up. But, yeah, that seemed to happen pretty quick. So not sure if, there was previous connection there or just the situation itself makes all the sense that it's Bama, it's an open spot, it's a need, and, and it's Nick Saban and all of that. But, yeah, I mean, he's not he's not a guy who's played a ton. I mean, I see some of the reaction, and it's like you'd think that they just landed the next Bryce Young or something, and I think he could be a very good player. But y'all know how many starts he's made? He made 3 starts.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't made a ton of starts, so he's not a 100% surefire thing the way that it's probably thought of just in general because, Alabama landed this guy from Notre Dame. He must be incredible. He's a good player. He can win some games for them. How much better he can be from when we last saw him, obviously will be up to him and the Alabama staff, and they're pretty good at what they do. So I'm very curious. I'm curious what this means for a guy here from the state of Texas and Jalen Milroe. They got Simpson as well. So be interesting to see kind of just how that room comes along and develops. But I mean, one of the storylines from spring, outside of, Dion basically needing to put together an entire team was, Alabama in the quarterback spot, and then, various other sprinklings of, Arch Manning is, this or that or whatever. The Alabama quarterback's probably been top 5, top 10 storyline. Would that be fair to say?
I would say, yeah.
In spring college football. So now they've addressed it, and we'll see how he does. But, yeah, he's a good player. He's not coming fully equipped with like 3 years of starts and, playing in huge games and all that. So there's still a little bit of a
Sam Hartman.
There's an unknown there, yeah.
That's why I'm surprised.
That's why he's in the open.
Right.
I mean, and I guess they wanted to see because they've got these 2 true freshmen coming in and Ty Stimson's there and all that and what they had in the competition because the true freshmen are, Nick Saban is not going to really want to start a true freshman unless he absolutely has to. But I was surprised with the amount of guys like Devin Leary and Brennan Armstrong and people like that in the portal that Alabama was not harder after that in that phase of the portal, that now they're in the Tyler Buckner phase. And, this just, I mean, I'm sure I've told you, I think he has a lot of potential and he's all that, but he has not played all that much. And this is just not an Alabama type move to have 5 quarterbacks in the room.
And especially after spring, because you would think that they would like to have had maybe a more veteran presence and had a chance to go through spring, but then they wanted to see what they had. And obviously, does this not, and then we have to break, does this not mean that there is concern at what they saw during spring?
I mean, I would think, yeah, it absolutely has to mean that. Yeah, I mean, there's a need there very clearly. They don't make any move they don't have to. I mean, how about this for you? Tyler Buckner was started 3 games, and that's more experience than any other quarterback on their roster.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, clearly there was a weakness there. I will be curious at some point in time if Saban does an interview or, maybe one of the quarterbacks involved, does an interview at some point. But why didn't they land a Devin Leary or someone along those lines? How heavily did they pursue guys like that? Because it does seem like Buckner's not as much of a surefire thing as maybe some of those guys would have been. And maybe you just thought at the time that you didn't need it. You didn't need somebody, and then after spring you felt differently about it. I'm sure more will be – I guess our next guest can talk a bit more about that, actually.
Well, we'll ask him, yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't want to take away. It's a good pickup. Buckner could be a hell of a player for them. There's just a lot of question marks there on both sides. So we'll see what happens next season.
Kirk McNair, he covers Bama Online. He'll cover Alabama. The discussion on Buckner now from Notre Dame to Alabama. We'll have that. Also today, Tony Caridi, voice of West Virginia Athletics at 3:40. Max Olson, theathletic.com at 4. More from him on Tyler Buckner because Max covers the transfer portal so well. Mickey Spagnola in about an hour on this, the day of the NFL draft. Cowboys, at least for now, have the 26th pick. And then Paul's top 5 today a little bit before we end the show. This is 365 Sports. So today went by Don Humidor. Cheyenne was there. Went by to get myself another round of gummies, Vita Dreams. Vita Dreams that allow you and make you and help you. They don't make you. They just help you feel better as you're ready to go to bed. They are kind of take away all the things that are in your head, whether it's financial, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whatever it might be, or you're just tossing and turning because you got a lot on your plate. Vita Dreams can help you kind of chill a little bit, and then next thing you know, you're sleeping, and you may save yourself that 30 minutes to an hour or so of tossing and turning. Vita Dreams at Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. Yes, they have the 48-foot walk-in humidor, and I got a couple of La Fontana cigars today when I was in there, the Churchill length, and, of course, they have fresh coffee beans. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center, Valley Mills, and Richland Drive in Waco.
Your springtime experience begins during the Jeep Celebration event this month at Allen Samuels in Waco. Save big and get a 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited with total values up to $5,500 on both 2- and 3-row options. Or if that isn't enough, get a 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport with up to $5,000 in total values. Plus, first responders get an extra $500. If we don't have exactly what you want, we can help you build the new custom Jeep of your dreams at Allen Samuels in Waco.
The future's bright, the time is now.
College is what you make it. It's a late night pizza run and all-nighters coding a new project. It's having big dreams and making them a reality. It's a professor who knows your name and your story. It's preparation for your future, your calling, your life. And at Baylor, it's even more. Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Aaron Duvall, owner, Texas Beef House. Aaron, it's premium grade East Texas beef, and you're located just outside of Tyler. No hormones, no antibiotics, no steroids, the kind of beef that people want. And then also your label is what catches people's attention as well.
Yes, we have a all-natural, pasture-raised Wagyu beef. It's a USDA label. That means our cattle never spend any time in the feed yard. They go straight from the pasture to the day of harvest, and we oversee the whole process from the beginning of the genetic choices when we make these matings to the time the calves are born, to the feed choices, all the way through when the animals are harvested. So we oversee the whole thing as a family, and we just believe, life's too short to eat average beef. So we offer people a chance to step up their game and try Wagyu beef at TexasBeefHouse.com.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu from our pasture to your plate. TexasBeefHouse.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Kirk McNair joins us. Bama Online joins us on today's announcement. Tyler Buckner of Notre Dame, who had 5 touchdown passes in the Irish's bowl game. And now he's a part of Nick Saban and his offense. Thank you for your time, Kirk. Does this mean that there were big concerns at quarterback from what they saw throughout spring?
Well, of course, I can't tell you absolutely, but my feeling going into the post after last season with the loss of Bryce Young was that if Nick Saban was not happy with his quarterback, he would go into the portal. When he didn't go into the portal in the early period, I thought, well, we'll go after spring practice. If he goes into the portal, that tells me he was not happy with the quarterback room. And, of course, that's what he did. So the conclusion then would be, yes, that that they felt they needed an upgrade.
Kirk, how different have things been for Nick Saban since Kirby Smart has now won back-to-back titles? It seems to me that he is playing from behind for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think that throughout his career, Nick Saban has, not been afraid of a challenge, and I think that he's probably more motivated than ever to get back to that, to get back to the playoffs and to win another national championship. What Kirby's done is pretty smart. He was on the staff he was on Saban's staff for years and years and years, and just basically taken the Saban plan and obviously done very well with it these past 2 years.
Kirk, what have been the early thoughts, I guess, on Tommy Rees? Obviously, there's a major connection and reason for why Buckner would have been looking at Tuscaloosa, but brought in as Saban makes over both the coordinator spots. What's kind of the thought process of what Bama fans can expect, and how do you think Tyler Buckner, other than the obvious of knowing the system and all that, how do you think he comes in and performs and improves that quarterback room with his skill set?
Well, let's start with the coordinators. Because he also is, not for the first time, almost every year, at least one and sometimes two coordinators get new jobs. And Saban, as they go with Saban's blessing, if they can do better themselves. And I think that what the two that he brought in, Tommy Rees and Kevin Steele, I think are both more physical type, coach more physical type games than what Alabama had been the last couple of years. Bill O'Brien, not to say he doesn't know football and is a good coach and has proved that over the years, but he was more of a, let's go for the long ball. And I think Nick Saban would rather control the game more than that. And I think that's what Tommy Rees is brought in to do. He seems to have a handle on that kind of offense. I don't think he'll have any trouble to moving on. To your second question, I don't think that Buckner will have any problem whatsoever learning this offense. It's one that Rees will have some opportunities to tweak a little bit, but it's, as Saban says, we don't bring coordinators in to bring their plan. We bring them in to run our plan. So it'll be the Alabama offense. There'll be some nomenclature, some type problems, but he can learn that quickly. Tommy Rees had to learn it in a month or so, and so I'm sure that Buckner can learn it, pick it up very quickly, and I'm sure they'll be very close knit over the next few months as that process goes forward.
Was that part of why you think Buckner, one, who wouldn't want to play at Alabama, especially if there's an opportunity to play, but the connection with Rees and Notre Dame, you think that had a big deal to do with Buckner picking the Crimson Tide?
Oh, I would think so. There's no way for me to know for sure, but it certainly makes sense. I think Rees recruited him and then coached him and named him the starter last fall before he got hurt, of course. So, yeah, I would say that was a very close connection, and that had a lot to do, very much to do with Buckner's selection of Alabama.
Kirk, they did maybe lack a little bit in the superb playmaker or experienced playmaker category last year after, years of the NFL draft kind of rating them a little bit. Have they taken the step up there, or is quarterback really the only glaring deficiency that Nick Saban saw on this roster?
He seems to feel that way. They've recruited well every year, as you know. Alabama's always first or second or so in recruiting. So you keep stacking up those good players year after year, even though Alabama has a lot of players, more than anybody really, who are only 3-year players. I think Alabama last year had 77 players in the NFL. So it's a replacement, but you're replacing with people who have been there and have waited their time, and they move on up and become good players. And I think based on what I saw in the spring game, and I don't watch it as a game, I watch players. And I thought I saw a lot of good players on both sides of the ball. I didn't see any weaknesses anywhere, and I thought several positions looked better than they did last year.
Kirk, clearly coordinators, that's a yearly thing, as you mentioned, that they have to deal with. This quarterback situation is a little more unique than normal maybe this year, but now they provided a big answer there. You just said, though, that everybody looks pretty great, but is there another underlying storyline for the diehard Tide fans out there that is kind of the talk of leading into next season that's not coordinator or quarterback related?
Well, what's always on people's minds is how much longer will Nick Saban go? When he came here, everybody said 3 or 4 years at tops, and he's getting ready to start his 17th year. He's become the second in longevity at Alabama to Coach Bryant, and of course is moving up the charts in every category. And it's a pretty good situation when you have an 11-2 season and everybody's wringing their hands about the fall off. But of course, they didn't achieve what they wanted last year. They lost 2 games, both on the last play of the game, and so it's there's no reason to expect that Nick Saban won't be able to bring it back. But again, he's 71 years old, or will be 71, and he's nobody's immortal, so you have to kind of look at the clock and then wonder what comes next, maybe. But it won't be like it's been under Nick Saban. This has been a remarkable run.
So we saw Jalen Milroe play last year when they needed him to play. You have the freshman in Holstein, who's been highly recruited out of Mississippi, Ty Simpson, the freshman from Tennessee. In your opinion, or what do you think would have been the depth chart at 1 or 2 had Buckner not transferred to Alabama?
I think if that had happened, that they would have built the offense around Milroe, hoping, I guess, and working to make him more accurate in his passing. He's an outstanding runner. But you've got, if you're going to run RPO, you've got to have P. You've got to have passes completed. So he did not demonstrate that. So before Buckner, I would have said they would build the offense around Milroe. I think Ty Simpson has shown he's been here 2 springs in a year, and he's shown that he is a very polished quarterback. But inexperienced, of course, and he had some injuries in this spring. And then the 2 freshmen, Eli Holstein and Dylan Lonergan, I thought both looked very good in the spring game. But of course, they weren't playing against the first team defense, and Milroe was, and Alabama's defense is pretty salty.
Hey, Kirk, thank you very much. Interesting. Tyler Buckner, Notre Dame, is now a part of Alabama, or officially will be soon. Thank you for your time, Kirk McNair from Alabama Bama Online. Here's a couple of notes on the Buckner. When he came out of high school, he was from La Jolla, California, 4-star player, obviously committed to Notre Dame.
Oh, the slums.
Yeah, yeah. And he actually played the first game or 2, then was injured and didn't play the rest of the year until the bowl game, and then he throws for counts for 5 touchdowns. So he was a 4-star coming out of high school at Helix High School in La Jolla, California. So he's a highly rated guy, and so was Simpson, so was Milroe. Lonergan, Holstein, it's not like the cupboard is bare.
No, I mean, he's a very talented player. Like, he was going to be Notre Dame's starter all last year, and then he got hurt. And then he was going to be Notre Dame's starter this year, and then he got beat out by a high-profile transfer. And that was his tale in South Bend. But, yeah, I mean, who knows what Sam Hartman is doing if Tyler Buckner plays all of last year. I mean, what would he have done? We don't know, but the door was cracked open, and clearly Marcus Freeman and staff felt like there was, a better direction to go, and so they did, and that allowed Buckner to, go reconnect with some people that he knew, Tommy Reese, and he was recruited by Bama previously. So, yeah, this isn't like just some shot in the dark and totally unknown thing. It's just that compared to Bryce Young or Jalen Hurts or, guys like that we're kind of used to Bama just having, even they, though, had like their initial years where you didn't exactly know. You knew they were tremendously talented, but they still had to go out there and do it. But, yeah, I mean, Tyler Buckner's got the ability to go be a star in Tuscaloosa. It's just that it's not as much of a sure thing. And when it's Alabama and it's not a sure thing, you're like, is that the crack in the armor? Is that their weakness? Is that what's going to, the weak spot that you can target? Because like he said, mostly it's just been like, oh, well, they're changing coaches again, but now they've done it so many times that you don't worry about it. And really, I asked him that question about like, is there like concern about the O-line or the corners? And he's like, no, it's really just Saban retirement talk. That's their big concern outside of the personnel now. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to be loaded. He's going to have a great opportunity, and I'm excited to see what he does with it. But, yeah, there's that one element of we just haven't seen a ton of him to know that, like, this is going to absolutely work, and Bama's not going to skip a beat.
He has won national titles with A.J. McCarron at quarterback, who had time in the NFL, Jalen Hurts, who almost won an MVP last year, Mac Jones, who's with the Patriots, Greg McElroy, who's a hell of a broadcaster now, and then also Jake Coker. Remember that? So they've won Tua. Tua. So they've won, and he's in the NFL. We know that. They've won a couple of national titles with workman-like guys, and that's what they'll probably want, at least initially, and then Buckner might give them even more than that. Breaking news in the NFL on this, the day of the NFL draft. Baltimore and Lamar Jackson have agreed to a contract. Thank God we can now end the Aaron Rodgers saga and also the Lamar Jackson saga. Both of those quarterbacks have now found one a new home and another one remains where he is.
Least surprising news in the world, I think. I mean, I know there was a lot of scuttlebutt, but I feel like oftentimes in pro sports especially, there's so much rumor, and that's like the meat of the story as opposed to the actual what happens part of the story. And so I think that everybody's gotten a great, several week run of Lamar Jackson rumors, only for him to be in the exact same place he was to begin with, which was always the most logical outcome and the likely outcome here. So, I mean, glad that's settled for both sides, but I'm not surprised by this at all.
I'm not either. And the closer it got to the draft, and I don't even mean like today, because today is the draft, but about 3 weeks ago when no one had decided, like, you know what? Lamar Jackson's a lot better than any of these quarterbacks. Like, that's a more proven thing. And I do think part of that is that, okay, just say you're the Colts and you want to go, send 2 first-round picks to Baltimore for Lamar Jackson. Are you going to do that knowing that maybe the rest of your roster isn't there yet? Right. You've got a really good running back, but you've got other things you need to do, so maybe that's not the most prudent thing to do. And when no one else did that, especially with all the needs at quarterback, that's when you knew it was going to be Baltimore again. Glad it happened. Todd Monken from Georgia is the offensive coordinator there this year, so now he can breathe easy. Odell Beckham Jr. also wasn't going there to play with Todd Hundley. Or not just Todd Hundley, whatever is Hundley. Yeah, but... Yeah.
It's Tyler
Huntley. Thank you. Todd Hundley was a baseball player. But yeah, so he's not going there to play with Tyler Huntley. I mean, that's you kind of knew that was happening when OBJ got there.
All right, when we come back, we're going to have Tony Caridi, West Virginia Athletics, the voice of what they do on West Virginia, the only school that we haven't had anybody on in a while. Everybody else from either head coaches or those who cover we've discussed and had on this show the last 2 to 3 weeks with spring wrapping up. Also, Max Olson at 4, his thoughts about Tyler Buckner and more. This is the day of the draft. We just gave you that news on Lamar. Yesterday, Aaron Rodgers. And this is 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, Robinson, Texas, and a great place. If you have been kind of wandering around, kind of in the wilderness when it comes to a dentist. Maybe you have liked this one or you didn't like that one or you just didn't feel comfortable or you don't know. I've had good dentists, but Dr. Steve Childress just kind of got me. He's just not going to play around. He told me my issues that I have with my dental work, and I knew I had some of them, but then he told me about, okay, just like termites in a house, if you don't take care of this now or we don't do this now, you're going to have major issues down the road. And, he just taught David. And I've been doing that the last couple of years. Dr. Steve Childress, Stonewood Dental, actually 3 years. I have an appointment at the end of May. Can't wait. Used to like, oh my God, push it back, push it back. Dr. Steve Childress is elite. He'll do major surgery. He'll do emergency type surgery. And they also just do the simple teeth cleaning. There are cavities and root canals and more. Steve Childress, Dr. Steve Childress, Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Dozens of 2023 Buicks are on the lot and priced to move at Richard Carr Buick. A prestigious luxury SUV without the luxury price. Experience the quiet escape and premium drive of a Buick SUV on a test drive today at Richard Carr. Right now, qualified buyers get a 2023 Buick Encore GX at 3.9% for 60 months, plus save $1,000 dealer discount or save $3,500 on a 2023 Buick Enclave Avenir in stock. See dealer for details.
Count on us, a dealer to trust. Richard Carr in Waco, Texas.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is premier, elite, life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. If you haven't been there in quite some time, you're missing out on the improvements for our members. New flooring in the weight room and locker room, new paint and mirrors added in the weight room and group exercise room, with more new machines arriving over the next few months. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines on spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alex Botch, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow. There's sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. The amenities are great. 16 tennis courts plus an 1,100-seat stadium court, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Visit our website, wacotennis.com, or visit Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
You know, I've said this before, and we haven't really discussed too much of the realignment. It's kind of in that dead period, so to speak, kind of like there is in recruiting. Brian Etheridge and also Sam Bradshaw are fantastic, and they've been able to get a lot of information. We've had Sam on this show, and then we've had the others who have been in the middle of those negotiations. But there are a couple of guys in the premium section. One's nickname is AP. Another one I've told you about is Lion Bear. And one of the things that seems to be where the Pac-12, at least appears to be, is we've heard all about Apple. So what do? What really is available? Sam and Brian have broken this down for almost 2 or 3 months. The really one thing ESPN would like to fill is the late night spot on Saturdays. They could even do that with the Big 12 if they wanted to, but that's what they need. And the possibility is there. That's the one opening with the Pac-12 is that Saturday night that might get ESPN involved. But still, Apple acquiring 100% and then saying, okay, this is what we have. The problem is you have the late night spot Saturday. If you're Oregon, if you're Washington, you want that. But you're not going to get any linear possibly at all until then on Saturday nights. And there's only so many games available. I think like 13 different weeks. More on that in just a little bit. Tony Caridi, voice of West Virginia Athletics, joins us on 365 Sports. Tony, thank you very much. I know you're always busy. Your thoughts about West Virginia post-spring football?
Well, as you know, you go into the spring game and the number one objective is not to get anybody hurt. And they were able to do that. So the biggest thing that stood out to me, fortunately, knock on wood, no injuries whatsoever. The athletic trainers never made it onto the field once the entire afternoon. That's a win. And the other stunner, 1 penalty the entire day. And I mean, they're officiating it for real, right? It's Big 12 crew, and so they're officiating it for real. So we were wondering if we could just take that crew and travel with them for the upcoming season. Just kind of, make them like the road band. But anyway, so where we are is at quarterback. It's a 2-person race between Garrett Green and Nico Marchiol. And Neil Brown said before practice in the spring ever started that he was not going to make a final call until in August. And at this point, in one particular scrimmage there Saturday, Green was the more advanced quarterback. Whether or not that plays out for the rest of the offseason and into this upcoming season remains to be seen. The team is very deep at running back. Legitimately, you've got 4 guys on that roster who have all had 100-yard games. So that's the strength of the offense in regard to skill. And then the offensive line, this is year 5 for Neil. And when he took this program over, the offensive line was in as bad of a shape as I had seen in my tenure here. And this will be my 40th season coming up. They started from 0, and now they are very good on the offensive line. They've got several guys, 2 guys in particular that will be in the NFL, the starting left side tackle, Wyatt Milam, and the starting center, Zach Frazier. So this will be a run-dominated team. And the 2 quarterbacks that I mentioned also have the ability to attack the perimeter, which we have not had in a long time here. And that's the kind of team it's going to be, kind of like in a day of throw it all over the place. This is going to be a run-dominated team. Receiving core completely reversed from where they were a year ago. We lost all the top names, and so we've hit the portal, as you know. We've hit the portal, got some guys coming in there, and that'll be a work in progress. And on the defensive side, I think they have got the opportunity to be solid after a really disappointing year last season.
Tony, is there a big difference in skill sets between the 2 quarterbacks? If one of them wins or one of them gets hurt and comes in, do they have to change it? Or, because I know Green is an excellent runner. We have not seen his aerial game come just yet, but is there going to be that shift in the offense if it's one or the other?
No, there wouldn't be. They would be able to run the same stuff for both of those guys. I think Garrett is, really, really fast. Nico doesn't have that speed, but Nico has that ability to get out of the pocket and do enough damage. So he's not Garrett Green, and for that matter, he's not a speedster, but he's a guy that has football savvy that can get out of the pocket, get down, make yards, play the next play.
Tony, I'd imagine it's impossible to not hear some outside noise at this point if you're Neil Brown coming out of last season. He seems like such a likable guy, and it's what you hear a lot, but clearly people want results, and they haven't seen the type of results they want up until this point. How has he approached this spring and handled all that kind of talk, if it at all has he had to handle that kind of a talk, and how do you just feel like he's approached this spring with this roster and the optimism they have?
I think he's approached it extremely professional, and obviously I think he would be the first person to agree with your initial point that this game and these jobs are all determined by wins, and I think that he knows that, and he understands what's in front of him, and so I don't feel or sense any extra stress or forlorn, behavior on his part, as you said. I mean, just the most likable, nicest guy you could ever come across. But he knows that you've got to win games. And, we've talked about this, I think, in the past. Schedule-wise, he's been given zero easy things to do. We were one of two teams in the country the last couple of years that are playing 11 Power 5 games. It happens again this year. Last year we opened at Pitt. 2 years ago we opened at Maryland. This year we open at Penn State. And then 2 weeks later, we play Pitt. And so that's not smart scheduling. I said it back a decade ago when these schedules were put in place that West Virginia's over its skis. Don't need to do it because no one else is doing it in college football. And so he's starting, with some really super tough challenges to begin with. It doesn't make it easy, and then you jump into the league. So this year, with the new additions, West Virginia and Oklahoma State are the only two teams that are playing all four of the newcomers. And so you've got that unknown in regard to how do you do? You're not playing the two Kansases, you're not playing Iowa State, and you're not playing Texas. So can you make your money off of BYU, off of Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati? That remains to be seen.
You mentioned they want to be a run-first team. You got a quarterback that can help you with that as well because he's a tough kid in Green. But I saw obviously Donaldson, Johnson, Mathis, Jaheim White, a freshman out of Pennsylvania, had a big run in that game. Is he someone that might give him a little something else? Looks like a small version, but a guy that has a little pop.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So obviously that was the first time that I saw him in progress there on Saturday, and he's a small little dude, man. He is explosive, though. He's a 5'7" guy that I think they absolutely have to get onto the field. You made mention he had a 70-plus yard touchdown run. He had a couple of other runs that you just kind of, when they happen, you kind of look at it and go like, okay, this dude can go. And so I do think that he will find his way onto the field.
Tony, defensively, do you think this is a team that can? I mean, they looked fantastic at times in stretches last year, and then at times it was like it was different guys, which I think was kind of the story for the team last year. Is this team ready to take that step forward defensively?
That's a great question, and they have to be quite honest, that they are going to have success, kind of what we're talking about here, and get W's. They have to. One of the big themes coming into spring and coming out of spring is that they felt that they may have suffered through some paralysis by analysis last season and got too complicated, and guys just weren't playing and were thinking too much. And I mean, there were some situations last year where we just had, opposing players just dead open. And you're in bad shape, guys, if in fact you were watching it on TV and you don't see the defender when the ball is going. That's a bad day right there. And so we had more of those than you can endure. And I think that they've tried to simplify as much as possible. And I think they feel solid. They do have to go into the portal here. Definitely want to try to do something. Get one more defensive lineman. They want to go back into the defensive backfield to build some depth there as well. And so I think they feel they got a chance, but I think being more simple this year may be what the route that they're going.
Tony, go ahead, Craig. I'm sorry. Go ahead. The conference is looking at the possibility of going into another time zone. That cannot be popular for West Virginia.
Well, it could if we go east, like Bermuda. I mean, you know that? You ever thought about the Atlantic? You guys always think it ends at the Eastern time zone. You know, there's an Atlantic time zone as well. It goes back an hour.
Yeah.
So, you know, the whole deal, and we've talked about this in the past, is that the league has been fantastic for West Virginia, with the exception of the travel and the geography, because your closest school up until the newbies come in here has been Iowa State for the last 11 seasons, which is 700 miles away. So I think, guys, that, you know, any time that West Virginia can get someone closer to them and still maintain that Big 12 brand that we know, it's a win-win, because there are so many good things that this relationship has had for West Virginia. These are like-minded institutions that we're playing against. Fan bases, I mean, they're like-minded fan bases, very similar. And we did not have that in the Big East days, because you had your non-football playing schools, you had small private schools intermingled with these other schools that are similar to West Virginia. But, you know, being in a league that's got state land-grant institutions makes a ton of sense. Now, I know the geography doesn't work, but as you guys know, and you guys follow it, very, very closely, who knows what the next iteration is going to be in conference realignment. You guys have heard the rumblings. Is the ACC, or some of the ACC schools, are they ready to test that grant of rights legally? And if in fact they do, and if in fact they can break through, kind of like the scene in Shawshank Redemption where he finally makes it out, if they get out, what's that do to everybody else? What does that do for those that leave potentially? What's that do? How big can this thing become? So it's fascinating stuff. And I understand completely getting a West Coast, you know, the time windows for TV. I get all of that, but, you know, closer better for West Virginia.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate all you do. Voice of West Virginia Athletics, Tony Caridi, with us on 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza online, 5 locations in the Waco area. Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, Hewitt, and also in Robinson. Bob Mock, the owner, started out and has worked in the pizza business for a long, long time. Took everything he learned wherever he was, and now he runs his own franchises, 5 of them, again, in the Waco area. And just a handful of years ago, there was nothing there. No Marco's. Now there is, and there's a reason he's growing because of the popularity. Marco's Pizza with numerous online, I guess you could say, discounts, opportunities with code words for you to get the pepperoni magnifico or the sausage magnifico, or combine the two of them. Use a code word online. You could pick it up or have it delivered, or call them as you want. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
TFNB, your bank for life, is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon-wrapped fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes. Cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Max Olson starts this 4 o'clock hour, theathletic.com, with a lot of different articles. He does what he does, covering college football, the transfer portal, and more. Max, thanks for your time. Your thoughts about Tyler Buchner to Alabama?
Yeah, it's super interesting. I talked to some folks in the SEC last August who wondered if Alabama would try to take a transfer quarterback going into 23. And certainly, back in the winter, if they had taken a Sam Hartman or somebody like that, would have been a big statement. Instead, they go through spring with 4 pretty inexperienced guys. Obviously, we got a little bit of a glimpse of what Jalen Milroe can do last year, against A&M. And it's hard not to interpret this as a statement by the new OC, Tommy Rees, and Nick Saban, that they're maybe not the most confident about what they saw in spring ball and what, kind of their situation there, their 2-man battle. I don't know if that means somebody got hurt. I don't know if that means they don't feel like Jalen Milroe is kind of taking those big steps that they need to see as a passer. But, certainly the relationship that Tyler Buchner has with Tommy Rees, he wouldn't have gone to Alabama, I don't think, if he didn't feel like he liked his chances of being a starter there. So, super, a little bit surprising. I wasn't surprised Tyler Buchner went in the portal. I thought he'd probably go somewhere where he could start, and he feels like he can do that at Bama. And so I guess we'll see in the next few days if Jalen Milroe or somebody else is trying to go in the portal before this window closes on Saturday.
Yeah, it's got a pretty tight window. And look, they've got 4 guys that are not Tyler Buckner. 2 of them are true freshmen. So just math tells us that 2 of those guys will eventually be in it, whether it's before Saturday or sometime after next season.
Yeah, and I wrote the story a few months ago about just how many of these top 50 quarterbacks end up transferring, and Alabama has really been one of the few outliers in this. They've had a very steady progression from Jalen Hurts to Tua to Mac Jones to Bryce Young, and obviously the backups end up transferring and stuff, but they've had them and Ohio State. It's been kind of very steady, very easy for them, and this is I think maybe the first year in a while, maybe since they had Blake Burnett and freshman Jalen Hurts in that whole decision, I think in 2016. It's been a while since Alabama had a little bit of uncertainty at that position. And so I don't know if that's a bad sign that they're taking Tyler Buckner. And then certainly, what do you feel like you can get out of him? I mean, we only saw him start 3 games last season. This is not a guy who has that much playing experience. So, that's a very interesting move.
Max, there's a lot of players like Tyler Buckner. He wasn't going to be the starter, and Alabama had a need, and it's understandable, that he wanted to play, and that's the case for a lot of guys in the portal. But there was a guy this week who was absolutely going to be a starter and a huge part of what his team was going to do, and that's Alton McCaskill down at Houston. He elects to transfer. Dana Holgerson commented pretty quickly. He was clearly caught off guard by it and a little bit disappointed, but wished McCaskill well. We haven't seen him play in a while because he's coming off an injury 2 years ago. But what are your thoughts on that move and any potential landing spots?
Yeah, pretty surprising for sure. Alton McCaskill, really good in 21 as a true freshman. He's a freshman All-American. He's the Rookie of the Year in the American Conference in that year when Houston won 12 games. And, it's been a process for him, obviously, coming back from the torn ACL. And I think from what I've heard, they feel like he'll be 100% this summer. But certainly they didn't see that coming. They felt like he was, they thought he was pretty happy there. And, I think that this is one of those deals where we'll see where he goes. But clearly you saw that he was linked to Colorado right away before he even popped up in the portal. And so, he has a few teammates who are supposed to go visit Colorado this weekend. I think the Bucs definitely need him. They need him. I think they only have 3 running backs on the roster right now who are on scholarship. So I could see him going there. I know Florida and other schools have come in and offered, but that would be a big get for Colorado if they can pull it off. And need him to stay healthy certainly, but we've seen the upside.
How fast and furious do you expect some of these guys over the next couple days to happen? It might be almost minute by minute, Max, because the window is closing, and some of the bigger guys like Alexander and the kid from Wyoming are off the board now, and Tyler Buckner have moved on and made their choices.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially like if we all kind of understand there's probably some tampering going on behind the scenes on some of these situations. So are there going to be some surprisingly like big names that kind of ghost their team and pop up in the portal here at the last minute with this deadline, like we did see with Jordan Addison last year? You definitely wonder about that, and then obviously, these players are going to have to find a home really quickly. Not just because you have summer workouts and all that kind of stuff, but it's just going to be a very fast moving process. I think there's just so many. I think there's 500 probably uncommitted guys in the portal right now who went in the month of April, and there's probably going to be a lot more. There was already a bunch more today. So I think these guys that are going in, a lot of cases they're players that are maybe they lost out for a starting job or they just haven't been able to see the field and stuff like that. But certainly these guys that go in with experience and can and have proven it a little bit, they're going to have a lot of schools fighting over them and a very fast decision to make.
Max, what were your thoughts about Baylor's pickups? Where did you have, I'm not saying up top, but with what they had, the defensive lineman from Oregon, Ma'ai, and also with Byron Bonds coming in from Utah State?
Yeah, I have heard good things on both. Byron Bonds was a guy that really couldn't get on the field at Texas and then went to Utah State and really showed out as a pass rusher and was really impressive for a defense that had a lot of great players who've gone to the portal and have gone to Power 5 schools and stuff like that. So I think that's a kid who, and you see this a lot. You go to the bigger school, you get behind a few guys, you kind of aren't getting on the field, and so you feel like you got to take your talents elsewhere just so you can earn some playing time. And I think you saw with Byron Vaughn, a guy that can definitely get after the passer. And so I think that was a good pick up, a kid that is going to work his butt off to prove that he can play in the Big 12 and deserves to start. And then, I think up front, like whenever you can find those kinds of guys, especially ones who are leaving the Power 5 schools like that, again, maybe they just got blocked a little bit or just had a setback here or there. I think that's usually going to be a good get. And honestly, when I talk to personnel folks right now, I think everyone I've talked to is looking for one defensive lineman, right? Like you always want to try and find those extra guys up front that can give you depth and make you better.
So anything in particular tonight with the draft that is a storyline that you might be covering or at least more interested in than others?
I think we're all interested to see how the quarterback situation shakes out. And, where does Stroud go? Where does Levis go? Who takes Richardson? How high does he go? And, certainly enjoyed watching Bijan Robinson these past few years. Very curious to see kind of how high someone is willing to draft him, because I think he's worth it. I think he's one of the 5 best players in the draft probably, but people have a hesitation about drafting a running back in the top 10, obviously, at this point. So very curious to see kind of where he ends up.
Final thing. Chuck Carlton, the news, as someone who's a writer as yourself, you know Chuck, we know Chuck. He was a staple of the Big 12 for years. College football, your thoughts about the loss of Chuck Carlton?
Yeah, really, really sad and just stunned to hear that news this week. Chuck was, as you guys I'm sure have said, like Chuck was just a good dude. He was good to all of us, got along with everybody. I enjoyed seeing him on the road. He and I would certainly come up to Waco a lot during the rise of the program, and always enjoyed seeing him on Mondays and catching up. And Chuck, just a tireless worker. This is someone who just kept working and kept writing, kept reporting while he was battling cancer, and really just the work ethic just unbelievable. But this is a guy who was devoted to his paper and his job, and serving his readers. And so sad that that his life is suddenly over here, and we're going to miss him quite a bit. Still hard to believe that, honestly.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for your time. Max Olson, theathletic.com, covers the transfer portal like a glove and does a lot more, of course, with articles involving college football. Does a great job covering also the Big 12. When we come back, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. The Cowboys have the 26th pick, and they always draw interest, no matter if they're coming off a team that wins the division or makes the playoffs or who they might be, what they've done in the offseason. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, is next on 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, new location on the eastern side of I-35 in Waco on Loop 340 and Highway 6. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with a brand new location, which means they have more product, they have different length of product, and in the past, even though they were phenomenal at what they had, pipe, steel, metal, what you needed to build things, whether it's commercial, real estate, or even something you do around your ranch, and maybe even if you're a weekend warrior when it comes to building. Pioneer Steel and Pipe had everything you needed, but the lengths were sometimes where you had to buy it and then go get it cut. Now they're going to do that for you because they ordered so many different lengths now of tubing or angle or what I said before with pipe, steel, and metal. And the distribution process, which has always been really clean, now it's even more efficient because they have bigger buildings, bigger areas, bigger bays, more bays, and it's streamlined even better. They have been in business since 1943. They will never lose the core of customer service being the main thing, but their product has also been the main thing. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, pioneerboys.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients, who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old, and they come every 6 months, and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
This is 365 Sports. It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com.
Prescott fires, caught, Lamb, touchdown.
Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Mickey Spagnola on the day of the NFL Draft. Cowboys with that 26th pick. Mickey joins us, Paul, Craig, David, here on 365 Sports. So it's the day of, I know there's always speculation about Dallas, like there is everybody. But, Mickey, what right now would you say is the hottest topic about the Cowboys in their 26th pick?
The hottest topic probably would be, is there any way on this green earth that Bijan Robinson lasts to 26? Okay. Or within reason, where you would say, okay, I'd give up a 4th-round pick to go from 26 to 23 and take, I guarantee you, a guy that they have a 1st-round grade on and is probably ranked pretty high on their board.
Mickey, is there a position in the, like, if they didn't address this position over these next 3 days, that you would say, oh, man, that's unfortunate, that's a miss?
No, because I think if they needed to play a game tomorrow, they could play a game tomorrow and be competitive. So I think whatever they get in the 1st round probably will be somewhat of a supplemental pick. I don't know that they've got a spot that you're going to say, okay, that guy's a day 1 starter. We can go position by position if you want. But, even if they take a tight end,
So is the tight end going to come around quick enough to be better than Jake Ferguson, who wasn't bad last year as a 4th-round pick? If they draft a guard, it's not going to be I don't think it'd be a guard in the 1st round. So if the 2nd and 3rd round, can that guy come in and be better than Edoga Chuma? And he's never been a full-time starter in the league, but they signed him in free agency to just as a safety net. And there's other things they could do at that guard spot if they were desperate to play tomorrow. But again, I don't know that they have a position that's just an automatic walk-in starter. Unless you got something in mind and I can talk you off the ledge.
No. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't something like, oh man, if they really, really got this, they were, because they've had those years. But I don't, like Mickey, you said it. They've done a good job with this roster. The trades, especially wide receiver and cornerback, have addressed the issue of who's going to play that position day one, because especially at cornerback, they really didn't have a lot of answers there opposite of Trayvon Diggs going in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because you would have been sitting there going, okay, can Deron Bland play on the outside, which he did late in the season, and is Jordan Lewis going to be healthy enough in time to play back in the slot? Then you could say, okay, we can go play. And who knows? Even if you draft a corner, that could certainly be the deal. If you draft the defensive end high, he's going to have to beat out Dorrance Armstrong and Sam Williams to get on the field. To be a starter, right? So that's defensive end. Defensive tackle, maybe. They don't have a history of taking defensive tackles in the 1st round. But you know what? I think when you look at the 26th pick, I don't think you look at it as a 1st-round pick. My understanding, they have about 15 grades on 1st-rounders. After that, it's high 2nd round. And so maybe you would say, okay, well, this is kind of like a 2nd-round pick. If I got a big body defensive tackle, I can go that direction. And even, offense, wide receiver. I know Pollard's going to be the starting running back. I still think they need one. So yeah, the availability of walk-in starting spots is not great.
How much did the trades they make allow them to then not worry about, we have to fill this position or we have to get that player?
Oh, I think it filled greatly, because I think had they not traded for Brandon Cooks, you would have said, yeah, I need a 1st-round wide receiver. And if they hadn't traded for Stephon Gilmore, you would have said, yeah, I need a guy that can challenge for a starting spot in the secondary at cornerback. So yes, they covered themselves there. They covered themselves at linebacker by re-signing Leighton Vander Esch. But you know what? If you have a linebacker, and depending on how much they're going to play Micah Parsons linebacker or defensive end, if he's at defensive end and you want to have a 3-linebacker 4-3 set, well, who's your 3rd linebacker? Because there's no more Anthony Barr, right? So you got Leighton Vander Esch, Damone Clark, and you hope Jabril Cox, but he hasn't done anything yet. So, a linebacker could step in and get some playing time. And you always want to take one of those, right? They lost Luke Gifford in free agency. You need special teams guys, and linebackers are usually the best bet to end up playing a lot as a rookie.
Mickey, what do you think the intersection of excitement would be between Longhorn fans, who most of them are Cowboys fans, and Cowboys fans if Bijan does happen?
Well, I think if that happens, and whenever the schedule comes out, you better not wait around if you're looking for single game tickets, because they're going to go fast. I'll guarantee you the Longhorn fans will start gobbling up tickets for sure. So, yeah, I think that would probably sell a lot of jerseys, a lot of tickets, and probably gain you some yards and touchdowns too, by the way.
So let's just say, and for some people it would be a dream scenario if Bijan happens to be hanging around towards the 2/3 of the way through the draft, whatever happens. Whether that happens, we don't know. But how would they use him because he's probably a better running back with wear and tear, you would think, than Tony Pollard, but both of them are explosive and both of them can catch the football.
Yeah, and I think it would be a shared position. David, Tony Pollard has never been the guy as a running back. Not in college, not with the Cowboys. He's been kind of the fun toy that gets 12 to 15 touches a game, and he's been pretty good at that. Now, there's no guarantee if I give him 20 to 25 touches that he's going to be the same running back and that he's not tapping out because, he lost his speed. My analogy of that, unfortunately, it's baseball, and I may have told you this before, but you have a second baseman that hits 275 and he gets 250 at bats. And then you give him 425 at bats and he hits 220 because he gets overexposed. So to me, that's kind of the situation they're in. I think they need a running back that can do what Zeke did last year. And let's remember, Zeke had the most carries last year. Zeke had 12 rushing touchdowns, 7 of those from 1 yard, and 12 of 14 on third down and 1. So who's going to do that? Somebody's got to do that. I don't know that you can expect Pollard, if you want him to be that explosive back, to keep pounding him inside. That might reduce his ability to break a 60-yard run as many times as he's done. So, I think it's a shared position and gives them some explosion. And by the way, who's your starting running back next year? Because who knows? If they can't get Tony Pollard signed to a long-term deal and he plays on, the franchise tag, they might not be able to sign him next year to what they want to sign him to, or you may not want to give a running back that second contract. So to me, the cheapest way to find a starting running back, if he's worthy, is to take him near the end of the first round, and you use him up for, 4 or 5 years and then go get you another one. It's like leasing a car, right? You don't have to give him a second round pick. And Stephen Jones talked about that earlier in the week, that if you're drafting a guy, say 1 through 15, well, you expect that guy to get a second contract, right? But where you're at 26, if you just use it up over 4 years or 5 years and then move on. And so you could qualify taking that running back that high. And what they're hoping, I guarantee you, is other teams are sitting there going, nah, it's not good value to draft a running back in the first round because then he'll fall right to them.
Mickey Spagnola with us, DallasCowboys.com. It's the day of the NFL draft here on 365 Sports.
All right, so Mickey, for you, having to cover the Cowboys and waiting 26 picks, do you get antsy tonight? It's fun to watch the rest of it, but you've got work to do once they make that 26th pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you do to bide your time is you start checking off guys. It's like, oh, that's somebody they wanted. Oh, that's somebody they might have wanted. That was somebody they were hoping for. So you kind of keep track of things like that. But yeah, it ends up being a long day. I think I saw the timing for the picks, and I think the 26th pick was estimated. If it's fast, it's about 9:50. It's slow, it's 10:10. So we're talking, 3 hours to wait till maybe 10 o'clock for that pick to come in.
Mickey, you've always had great access for all the years you've covered them. Have you ever had a chance to spend 5 minutes inside the war room at all during the draft?
Am I still alive?
Yeah. Yeah.
That answers your question.
Yeah.
That's a big no.
Yeah.
Heck, there's been only a few times, I think probably back at Valley Ranch, that I've actually walked into the war room where it wasn't like before the draft. It might have been during the season, and I can see how they had the tags up there for the guys on all the different teams, and so they knew maybe who was available during the season for a trade or if somebody gets cut. But other than that, yeah. Heck, when we were at Valley Ranch, they used to have a security guy with a gun holstered standing outside the door.
Wow. Did not know that.
Now he was just a security guy that happened to have a gun, right? But it wasn't that they were worried that somebody was gonna, bust through or whatever. But here, the security, it's kind of hard to get to the door where the war room is. So, no, I have not been in there during the draft. And you know what? People that have won the second chance lottery ticket, the Cowboy lottery ticket, the winners, they'll bring them in and kind of walk them through that until I think somebody took a picture, and then that's probably over with. But it's pretty sacred spot.
Yeah, unless Jerry shows it on like during a press conference.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Or somebody takes a picture in there, and somebody's got a list in their hand, right? And just so happens. And by the way, I believe NFL Network is getting access because I think they're doing a documentary. I don't know if it's just on the Cowboys draft, but a documentary on the war rooms. Maybe it's league wide. So I would have bet somebody's following them very closely. Although what they're using is not going to be used until the summer. So that's probably safe.
Well, you told me my first follow tonight on Twitter is Jane Slater, so there we go.
Do what now?
I mean, if NFL Network's got access to the war room, then I guess I got to follow Jane Slater first, right?
No, she ain't going to be in there. Just NFL Films will be in there. I'll guarantee you that. That's pretty protective. I don't know if you guys can hear, but I'm out on the Tostita Plaza, and they're Cowboy cheerleaders are on the stage practicing, and they're setting up, and they've got the big screen TV up already on NFL Network. So there is a little noise out here in case something bled into what I was trying to say.
Have you ever had anybody that has been inside, like every team seems to be thrilled. It's like college coaches on National Signing Day. Now there's in December and February. They never sign a bad class. Have you ever had somebody tell you that there's maybe at times a little bit of fake emotion on whether they like a pick or not?
Not on the record for sure, but I've heard at times some grumbling coming out of the scouting department. But I've been here for since the 1985 draft.
Yep.
So that's a lot of drafts that have gone down. And sometimes it's like, what were you thinking? But again, and it's not universal. It's probably somebody's personal opinion on, maybe they had a favorite guy that they didn't get drafted and they were grumbling. But nobody's ever come to the press conference and go, well, that was the best we could do. Everybody's pretty darn happy with the draft. And if you do your homework, and that's one of the things that I think got emphasized this week by Steven, by Mike, by Jerry, was, we're going to follow our board. That's all we can do to prepare for the pick at 26. And I think if you do that, and as McCarthy said, he said the most egregious mistakes in the draft I've seen over my years is when you didn't follow your board. You kind of went off and did something that you didn't plan on doing. And here's the other thing. And, they do mock drafts, right, David? And they used to do them where, they'd get 30-some guys in there, the scouts, the assistants, and everybody would have a team. And then they would practice like, okay, you pick for the Chargers, you pick for the Eagles, you pick for the Giants, and then let's see what happens when our pick is on the clock and see what's left. Well, my understanding is now they have basically a computer program, and they can program in, say, 5, 6, 7 mock drafts that they see online, and then program in some common sense picks and let the computer spit out what's going to happen pick by pick and allow you to know when you get to 26, here are the choices. And McCarthy said they've done that like 20 or 30 times to see what the different scenarios are, so you can have an idea. Okay, if all this happens and here we are and here's what's left, what do we do? And so you make a decision ahead of time. It's like McCarthy said in the press conference, it's like putting together your play sheet for the Super Bowl. You've got all that stuff matted out, and you're not going to get in a situation where, okay, we're 3rd and 8 at the opponent's 35-yard line. What's the play call? No, you've already picked your plays, and now you pick the one that fits the situation that you think is the best. It's not like you got a Rolodex and it's like, oh my God, what do we do now? So that stuff's pretty much planned out unless something weird happens. And, we can go back to 2020 when they did their mock draft. Not one of them did it come up CeeDee Lamb available at number 17. They were shocked. And so, again, it was like, oh my gosh, whoa, this is pretty easy. We're going to take a guy that we had a first-round grade on at number 17 that we had no clue that he was going to last this long.
Mickey, thank you. Good luck tonight with all the coverage and throughout the weekend, all the way into Saturday as well. Mickey Spagnola with us on NFL Draft Day from DallasCowboys.com. Paul, Craig, they have the 26th pick. How far down does Bijan have to fall before they start to get a little bit, okay, we need to go get him?
I would say about 20.
Where are the Chargers?
21.
Okay.
And that depends on what they decide to do with Austin Eckler. If they decide that they're gonna move off of Austin Eckler this year and honor that trade request, or just let him play out this year and then go into the free agent market next year. So, yeah, there's a lot to decide there.
Yeah, I almost don't want that player that you just mentioned. I almost don't want to say his name.
I know.
Because you have no idea why I said that.
I just thought you're just worn out by it, all the speculation.
No, I'm talking about Eckler, but now I've had to say it. So what I was getting at was that I clicked on a tweet, mentioned him one time, and I basically got stuck with a whole Austin Eckler section on my Twitter for like an entire year. I mean, really, like it was – here's your for you, and I don't care about the Chargers in any way, shape, or form. Don't ever in my life go looking for their tweets, but I saw like one thing that he was a part of, like some video or something, and I clicked on it, and for months afterwards, no matter how many Chargers accounts I blocked, no matter how many people I muted, just it fed me Chargers information. I was like, I don't care. I don't care about the Chargers, but Twitter just would not. I mean, they wanted to make me a fan, I guess. I have no idea. But, yeah, I mean, as far as the Cowboys and Bijan, I'm glad there'll be some resolution to that tonight. I know people have gotten a lot of miles out of the speculation part of that, but it's either going to be a really massive deal or it's going to be something else. And it's hard. I mean, the thing that I don't like about it for Cowboys fans is just how much you've gussied yourselves up to prepare for the possibility of it. And if it doesn't happen, that's going to be, I feel like, awfully disappointing for a lot of people at this stage. But that's part of the draft. That's part of the fun. Everybody has their dream get, and that's without a doubt the Cowboys' dream get. So if it happens, that will be a night to remember for Cowboys fans.
Only a very small percentage of it is in their actual hands.
Right, yeah.
Because they don't have the first pick in the draft, the percentage drops at every point you go down. So they just have to hope that, they can control what they can control. And I think they'd be foolish for them to fall in love like, hey, we have to have Bijan Robinson.
You said after every pick, the odds go down?
I mean, like,
or do they go up?
As for them, like, the further away get away from the top, I mean, as you look at the draft. Now, as he drops, the odds go up. But as far as what you control, like, it doesn't really – turn in your favor until you get really close, because at that point, and then look, here's the deal. It would not totally shock me. It would be a little surprising because they did place the franchise tag on him, but the Cowboys did the same thing with Tony Pollard if the Giants at 25 took Bijan. I mean,
because okay.
I mean, like the same thing. Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard are on the same exact contract for the same exact money for the same exact amount of time. They're both on the franchise tag this year. So if the Giants have decided they're not going to give the long-term deal to Saquon Barkley, then Bijan Robinson just steps right in, and they kind of just move on to the next guy who's going to play 5 years for them. And then the Cowboys and Pollard's a slightly bit different because Saquon Barkley was like the second pick in the draft and Tony Pollard was a 4th-round pick. But even still, like –
wet blanket, Bijan isn't a generational athlete. He is good, but come on. Alan Tran, I like Bijan. We know Paxton would love it if Bijan was to fall in the lap of the Cowboys or they were to find out find out a way to get him. But
yeah, I just think he's a great player. That's why people want him. I don't know that it has to do with him being, the GOAT in the near future or anything, although, maybe some people have had that thought. I think it's just more about what he can do immediately and not so much, especially a running back. What they just dump Ezekiel Elliott on the side of the road basically this past offseason? Not really, I know, but, they got what they wanted out of him and see ya. And, yeah, you can come back maybe after we potentially draft other guys and after we figure out our money situation and we give you a far lesser deal, then maybe you can come back from that. But, yeah, it's just as likely Bijan's great for 4 years and then starts to fade as it is that he, is great for 8 or 9. But he would be a transformational type of player on paper, you would think, for this team and this offense, and really would be that for most anybody who gets him, because he's at the height of his powers, you'd think, right now and for the next few years. And he's just a very likable guy who, as a face of your school, of your franchise, would pay a lot of dividends as well. So, yeah, I don't think anybody's predicting he's Jim Brown, but I think as far as, great young running backs, he's up there with the best that we've seen here in recent years.
He can do it all. And, again, a great pass receiver as well out of the backfield. It's 4:39. When we come back, Craig Smoak and Off the Radar, this is 365 Sports. The city of Woodway having that event coming up this weekend. They're going to have the unveiling, or at least celebrate what is going on, of course, at the Carling Bright Arboretum, which they're going to have all sorts of stuff out there. When I say stuff, for example, the grand opening of the Carling Bright Arboretum, this has been renovated. This has been going on for a long, long time. They will be open from 10. There'll be the Arbo Fest from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. That's this Sunday at the City of Woodway's Carling Bright Arboretum. Vendor market, food trucks, live music from Blue Water Highway, and a lot of activities as well for the family, including a scavenger hunt, face painting, yoga on the lawn, and much more. Arbo Fest Sunday, this Sunday at the Carling Bright Arboretum from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more information. We've received nominations from Central Texas High School counselors for the 13th annual Academic All-Stars team. The selection process underway to find the elite student athletes. Hi, this is David Smoak. Nominations include student athletes who thrive and succeed in both academic and athletic competition. We'll select a 20-member team this month and announce the Academic All-Stars team on Monday, May 1st.
The 2022-23 Academic All-Star team is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Westdale Asset Management, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, HEB, Ray Broker AC, Alliance Bank, The McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Hal Whitaker and Louis Englander Scholarship Fund, the U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Center, IdealMRI.com, Bubba's 33, the Baylor Club, and our 501c3, the Waco Foundation.
We'll honor the 13th annual Academic All-Stars team at our annual banquet Wednesday, May 17th at the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium. We're proud to recognize the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas and be involved with this program. It's the 13th annual Academic All-Stars team right here on 365 Sports.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels in Waco, and the deals couldn't be any hotter. Get a new 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with values up to $4,250 plus 4.9% for 72 months. Or get a new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with 1.9% for 72 months or 10% off MSRP. That's right. Come pick from the best selection of brand new inventory in Central Texas at Allen Samuels in Waco while supplies last.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include food, screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543. Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on 365 Sports. We'll segment on Tuesdays and Thursdays, taking a look at some other stories around, it's various organizations, various sports, on the field, off the field, and not actually a ton of stuff. I think the NFL draft is pretty much taking over most of the headlines and some of the more wild card type of stories that we would typically have. And one of those headlines, let's talk a little bit more about that because we touched on it at the beginning of the show, but Devin really got deep into it, and that has to do with the Ravens announcing that they have signed Lamar Jackson to a brand new deal that for the time being makes him the highest paid player in NFL history. A 5-year, $260 million deal, but really the big number that matters, $185 million guaranteed for Lamar Jackson. So 185 guaranteed he'll make that. Could make up to 260. I think I said, did I say 250? It's 5 for 260. Highest paid player in NFL history. And now that's all settled. He has some weapons that could be added over the course of these next 3 days to help him out. Others added during this offseason, like Odell Beckham Jr., and now this long drama has been settled. So how do we feel now that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson have settled their differences and we can now move forward with them trying to work together to win a Super Bowl?
Was there really ever a doubt? Was there ever a doubt that Aaron Rodgers was not going to be traded to the Jets and Lamar Jackson was not going to end up back in Baltimore? Like 5%?
Not for me. I mean, maybe there's like the 2% chance that something could go haywire, but yeah, I don't know. It just based on the things that I had read, I know it's more fun to speculate, and that's where a lot of this comes from, is just like the constant churning of like, where could he go and where will he land? And like that's what we do with a lot of different subjects, so I totally get that. But if you like sorted through a lot of that noise, then I think it was pretty clear. There weren't like he wasn't like free reign to just do whatever he wanted, basically. It just never came across. It always felt to me like he was going to be back in Baltimore. Paul, how do you feel about it?
I always thought he was going to be back in Baltimore. I thought initially if I were the Colts, or like maybe like, you know, the Colts or I don't know, like the Texans and Panthers are in such different spots. Once the Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, that kind of took them out of it. I mean, there was an era with the Raiders where they would have totally given up 2 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson. But I think that's come and gone. So once the Colts didn't really make a move on it when it was out there and it was contentious, I just felt like, look, Lamar is going to hold out until the last possible spot where it's the best for him to make the move. And it's today of the draft. They finally got it worked out. They've been bringing in players under the assumption that he's going to be there. So, yeah, I always thought it was. I'm happy for Lamar. You know who's really cashing his checks next is Joe Burrow.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's thinking about all the fur coats he's going to buy with that money there, but everybody like is just thrilled to see this. And remember when Dak Prescott signed his contract and Cowboys fans were like about it? He's a freaking bargain now.
Yeah, no, Joe Burrow's going to smash this in a matter of time. We'll see with Justin Herbert as well, where he eventually falls. Are those the 2 main ones coming up, I guess, next?
Yeah.
And Burrow's really the one that you look at and you go, like, yeah, he'll smash this. But, yeah, Jalen Hurts held that crown for, what, a week and a half? How long did Jalen Hurts – how long was he the highest-paid player?
10 days. Yeah.
About 10 days, and now it's Lamar Jackson, and eventually it will be somebody else as well. I did see where there was this tweet from Ralph Russo that kind of sums up my feelings, because as I was saying this, I looked at my timeline and it popped up, and it's right on with what I was saying. NFL quarterback contract disputes remain the undisputed champion of the non-story story. Months of talk about what could happen if he doesn't sign, ending in the player signing well ahead of the point of possible consequence. The power of the NFL, though, and that's so true. It's just the conversation surrounding it is so heavy. But, I think this is the result that pretty much everybody expected. So congratulations to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens fans and those who were worried about this in some way or another. Well, it all got done and squared away. So Jalen Hurts taken care of, Lamar Jackson taken care of, and pretty soon we will see, as we just mentioned, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. Meanwhile, just a couple of other stories. NBA playoffs. Last night we had some more clarity, a couple more eliminations, and now we've got half of the field, or a little over half of the field, set for the conference semifinals round. And just one game tonight. There was a boatload of games last night. Saw the Knicks beat Cleveland to win that series 4-2. And how about the 8-seed Heat beating the Bucks 4-1 in that series, beating them in Milwaukee. Giannis went viral for his talk after the game about how he has a message about sports, and you don't win every game, and you take losses, and he got deeper than that on it. But the basic message of it, you win some, you lose some, and you got to keep the proper perspective, and he's keeping the proper perspective. And it's not like the Bucks haven't won a title, so they're not on like a drought and they're feeling like this insane pressure. But obviously, you lose to the 8 seed. That's immensely disappointing. So yeah, Jimmy Butler and the Heat, the 8 seed, take down the Bucks, and that leads us to where we are now.
Did you see the play to Butler at the end of regulation that tied it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was there was no room for error at all to make that shot, and they did.
So let me ask you, you watched Jimmy Butler. I don't know how many people know this, because I think sometimes we just presume that people know like what we've done or who we've covered and things like that. You did junior college basketball for a long time, and Jimmy Butler played at Tyler Junior College. So did you have any inkling of an idea that he would be an NBA superstar?
No.
Franchise face?
No. He was fantastic. He was a great young man. He was a baller. He wanted the ball in his hands at the end of the game, but I could never have imagined. Mike Marquis, who's the head coach at Tyler, has been there like 20 years or so. When he hit the shot that won the game, wasn't it the one that won the game maybe a game or two ago? I texted him. I said, he played for you at Tyler Junior College, and he said he's just phenomenal. No, I had no idea he was going to be that good.
Well, he is, and as a result, the Heat up in the 1 seed in Milwaukee, and they move on. So basically the way it's set up now is you've got on the Eastern Conference side of things, the Heat and the Knicks, the 8 versus the 5, as the Knicks upset the Cavaliers as well to move on. So a couple of upset teams will now meet each other in this next round. Heat and Knicks, 8 versus 5. And then on the other side of that bracket, you got the 76ers, who swept the Nets. They moved on without an issue, and they will await the winner of tonight's series. And tonight's series could be over later on tonight. The Hawks, the 7 seed, playing host to the 2 seed Celtics. Boston leads that series 3-2. So if Boston wins, it will be Boston and Philly, along with Miami and New York on the Eastern Conference side of things. And that's the only game tonight, is that Celtics-Hawks game. Over on the Western Conference side, you've had the Nuggets and the Suns now move on. They will face each other in this next round. Suns dispatching with the Clippers 4-1, Nuggets dispatching with the Timberwolves 4-1. And then on the other side, tomorrow, we will see some clarity and possibly the rest of that bracket set up as the Warriors lead their series over the Kings 3-2 and the Lakers lead their series over the Grizzlies 3-2. So both of those game 6s will take place tomorrow night. But yeah, Nuggets Suns is set, Heat Knicks is set, 76ers are in against the Celtics or the Hawks, and then we got a couple on the Western Conference side still to be cleared up.
Yeah, I would. I think it would be remiss of me not to mention that everybody in the country that's not a Warriors fan is loving the city of Sacramento right now.
Yeah.
Like, just want somebody to knock them off. And Draymond Green got suspended, and it seemingly woke them up a little bit. Not that they would have maybe won the series anyway, but it would be wild to see the Kings win that series.
Oh my gosh!
I just don't think it's going to happen. They're playing a team that has so much championship pedigree, but this is going to be one of the tougher goes the Warriors have had all the way through. If they get through to the finals again, this is going to be one of the tougher ones they've had in their era of greatness.
Yeah, they've had to work for it, that's for sure. Davion Mitchell, we obviously know him well. A terrific defensive player, had 10 points in the last game. That ended up being a loss. I don't know if the Kings can win 2 games and knock them out. But, there's always a chance as long as you're still alive. And so we'll see that tomorrow night. But, yeah, Celtics-Hawks tonight. Boston wins. They're in to face Philly in the next round, and the whole Eastern Conference side of that bracket will be, therefore, complete. Meanwhile, some major news in women's hoops as a big-time transfer made her decision, and there might be a dynasty brewing down in Baton Rouge as the defending national champs LSU, Kim Mulkey, landed Haley Van Lith from Louisville, one of the top-ranked players in the transfer portal. She's a grad transfer, had a terrific career for the Cardinals, and I guess it was surprising to see her enter, and you just figure somebody like that probably finishes out their career with Louisville and tries, one more time to win a title. I think I read correctly that they got to the Elite Eight like every year, I think, that she was there, or just about. Correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty close to that. And yeah, she's a terrific player. Average, was a 2-time All-ACC first team. Big-time shooter, averaged nearly 20 points per game, had a big jump from her sophomore year, and plays nearly 40 minutes a game, started all 101 games in her career for Louisville, 3 Elite Eights. So, sorry, she 1 year they just choked. No, I'm kidding. But 3 Elite Eights. And, like I said, she's got her degree. She's free to move around. And she's joining Kim Mulkey and Angel Reese and all the rest of that crew. And I would have to think that makes them like the overwhelming favorites, but I know that there's also UConn as always, and there's a couple of other, like Iowa with Caitlin Clark will be back. You can only imagine. You talk about ratings for next year. I know, women's basketball can be very hit or miss for the general population, but they did get a little steam going in this last tournament.
Yep.
And if you got Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese Part 2, you might be able to market that pretty well. That might be kind of what can spur some things for you. So Haley Van Lith to LSU.
She's the one that had the little flare-up as they beat Texas in the line, and the girl from Texas said something to her, and she said something back. She's got a lot of blank in her neck. Will be interesting. There's a lot of personalities, which they managed very well. And even Kim Mulkey mentioned that, hey, we've got a lot of personalities, but they all play hard. Will be interesting now that who they are, now the expectations rise as they should. There could be a winning 2 out of 3 or 2 or 3 in a row with what they have, with Reese being young too. Can they all get along?
Yeah. I also am sure that Louisville fans are
I'm sure they will.
Louisville fans are super excited for Haley Van Lith's championship party back at the most popular restaurant in town when she wins it.
Those billboards in Louisville are going to be awesome when LSU gets to the Final Four.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Kim Mulkey threw a party.
Oh, God. Why do you even give her time?
Threw a party back here in Waco and told the media that it was about celebrating Waco for her title.
Yeah.
Just going to throw that out there.
Well, yeah. So anyways, Haley Van Lith to LSU, that ought to make them the favorites, you would think, and we'll see. And I said, before when they won the title, I said there's a very real possibility that Kim could go there and win more titles than she won at Baylor. She's already got one. She'd need 2 more. But the way they're set up, they could very well go on a UConn-style run potentially. But like you said, there's a lot of personalities, a lot of chemistry that you have to adjust. But I say this, too, going back to LSU, the NIL thing, man, I think that gives them probably 3 of the top, at least 10, if not top 5 female NIL athletes with Angel Reese and Olivia Dunn. And then now add Van Lith, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody.
No, the girl who is a rapper. What's her name?
Oh, yeah.
Flaunger.
I think
she'll be back too.
Yeah. Olivia, the gymnast,
Olivia
right?
Dunn, yeah.
Dunn, okay. And then Reese, and then it's the girl who's been grown up in as a rapper.
Johnson.
And then also now Van Lith, and I think all of them are close to about $1 million and up to 3.5 with Olivia, the gymnast.
Yeah, so they got something a little cooking there as far as that NIL piece goes. I'm not saying that played into it, but I can't imagine that it hurts at all. And having all that kind of star power and social media attention, all that certainly makes that an even more promising spot outside of the winning as well. And then finally, I just thought this was a cool story. You never know, like your nephew or some family member, it seems to be pretty good at sports, but Mike Trout's uncle got a payday because he held on to a Little League ball that Mike Trout signed when he was 12 years old, and recently the ball was sold for $15,600 at Robert Edward Auctions this past weekend. Trout signed the ball after hitting a home run during a Little League game, and his uncle held on to it for 20 years before deciding it was time to sell. Maybe he could just, I don't know their relationship, but just ask for a new one at Christmas. It'll probably be a lot more valuable. I don't know. But he held on to it and sold it for a little over $15K. So, yeah, they had a picture of him actually in his Little League uniform and the ball to try to authenticate it and all that. So we always have the Michael Jordan card or the Babe Ruth card. A Mike Trout Little League baseball sold by his uncle for $15K plus. So there you go. There's a few things off the radar.
I am blown away by the amount of money that people get. I know it's collector's items. I mean, it's like the Mona Lisa, like all these autographed shoes, balls, bats, jerseys. It's really amazing the amount of money that is put into that.
I have to go to a T-ball game on Sunday night. I plan on getting every kid to sign a ball.
Yeah. Well, if they're hitting home runs left and right, I would maybe look into that for sure.
It cost me $15, and then later on, if there's a Mike Trout in that crowd,
a ball and a Sharpie.
Yeah.
Good.
Right. I've got a Sharpie right here. Yeah.
All right. When we come back, we're going to go back into a few of the notes that we were about to get into when we got a call in about what really is the latest or some of what is simmering with the Pac-12. And how all that breaks down. And we have phenomenal people within our site that have done, I've mentioned Sam and Brian, but a couple of others. Also, you want to discuss who you think, what is the number one story in your opinion tonight in the NFL draft? You could do that on the chat room. Garrett, can we open the phone lines up? 254-339-1122. We'll do that in the next hour. Kim, Paxton, those of you, all of you, retired stockbroker, Sandra Green, we're just throwing out some names, 254-339-1122. Discuss what is simmering among what is available, really, with the Pac-12, and who does that leave in or out? This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr is loaded with GMC Sierra trucks. Make your best deal in years. Step up to premium grade GMC Sierra and save thousands at Richard Carr. Right now, qualified buyers get 2.9% financing and $3,000 in savings on most new 2023 GMC Sierra SLE, SLT 1500s in stock. Call now, get here now, or log on to richardcarr.com and drive home your new GMC Sierra today. See dealer for details.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
The future's bright, the time is now.
College is what you make it. It's a late night pizza run and all-nighters coding a new project. It's having big dreams and making them a reality. It's a professor who knows your name and your story. It's preparation for your future, your calling, your life. And at Baylor, it's even more. Baylor, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments and financial advisor Chuck Verno, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, we got a couple of things to discuss, and then we have phone calls. Let's do this first. And yes, we'll discuss who is the most interesting storyline, in your opinion, when it comes to the NFL draft. And from Sir Blah, 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 David Smoak, Paul Craig, don't do it. We're all idiots as far as opening up the phone lines, but we're going to do that, and even Bobby B said hooray. So, Apple, they get 100% of the Pac-12. They take that 100%, and they give ESPN 13 games for that Saturday night time slot. That means that about 20% of the content for the Pac-12 would be linear, correct? 80% Apple. Apple then gains access to the Pac-12 network without even having to buy it. But the total payout, of course, is not closer to the Big 12, and the streaming number is well above what Dr. Robbins at Arizona said, and others about 50% or more.
Yeah, I mean, look, it gets done. I mean, that's the thing, is it gets done if they do this, but they are, and as it hurdles towards the the decision, I mean, it's getting closer and closer to the linear spots just aren't going to be there. And, if this is the best deal that they have, then they're going to take it. But, there is, just only being on linear television very late at night is not going to help what your problem was earlier, which is getting the word out about you to places that aren't where you are.
Yeah, I mean, that's survival, so I guess that's a thumbs up. That's what you're looking for, I suppose. But on the flip side, just basically having the only games on linear being your Friday night games or your Saturday night games.
It'll be a Saturday late night.
Saturday late night game, that's all you've got. I mean,
which also means, Craig, that Oregon or Washington or any of them, that they lose the linear exposure throughout most of the day when people are ramped up early on a Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you can spin that however you want to. Again, I guess just staying together is a win. But, yeah, less money, but close enough money. I mean, that's what everybody's anchoring for. The exposure part, it would be interesting. I don't think everybody would be happy with that. I just can't imagine how they would be. Then again, I mean, who's really got room to bitch and moan too much? I mean, there's, 3 schools that could really threaten anything? Or I guess 4. 4 corners and then – a couple of others if you believe all of the talk. So, actually that's more than half the conference. But there's Oregon State, Washington State. I mean, they're going to take whatever. They're going to be force-fed whatever and like it. So I don't know. I mean, yes, you survive, but there's a lot to also just kind of be wary of there.
So if, in fact, that works, Apple gets a reasonable rate for content. They get the Pac-12 network without even having to purchase it.
But yeah, they don't own it, though. It's not, and you would rather they buy it. Like, if you're a Pac-12 fan, I think you'd rather, Apple invest in it and secure it. But, this doesn't answer anything about the longevity. Mm-hmm. This doesn't answer anything about, how much are people going to tie themselves down with this deal? I mean, I can't imagine that everybody would love this. So, if not everybody is a fan of that, then, how long can you reasonably expect there to be, a long-term deal in place, or is this just, like they said, kind of a short turnaround into the next, round of negotiations?
Again, what we're saying is that this appears to be, we're trying to say, how do people survive? ESPN gets their S4 content at a pretty good rate, but don't have to acquire additional overlap content. Those, again, who probably get what they at least want, a little bit of money, and also the fact that the conference survives. Washington State, Oregon State, Utah, Cal, and Stanford. Oregon, they lose any kind of linear opportunity as far as exposure, and maybe Washington too, whether it's a late morning game or, of course, if they're on the West Coast, any kind of those 2:30 kicks or whatever else you have on linear television on Saturdays when everybody, again, is juiced up. They've had those 11 o'clock kicks. Here comes the early afternoon kicks into the evening. Now, if you're Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State, you might even have more minimal exposure than even Oregon, who's probably wondering, where is our exposure during the day? How many of those games on the S4 slot, the late night Saturday spot, will include Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State? Now, Colorado of interest because of Dion, but how many of those slots are available? There's 13 all year long. And you'd want to have Oregon in there, right? Mm-hmm. And probably Washington in there. So maybe if they're on the road or at home, maybe they get that spot. What happens to Washington? They will probably get a lot of those last Saturday night spots, but that still doesn't help answer Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State. They're kind of like they're teetering in a way, kind of like on the diving board. Do you jump or do you not?
They're waiting to be impressed. They're ready. They're waiting to say yes to whatever it is that they're floating out there, and whether or not that's good enough is the question. If they're fine settling for, the least amount of money, although not enough to make them want to go jump, but certainly. I don't know how the current exposure for Arizona football would stack up to whatever this would look like. So I don't know how much of a difference it would be. But, yeah, I mean, you're not getting a lot of spotlight. That's for sure if you're one of those programs, most likely.
And then the thing is they're setting a really high bar for, okay, if you want to be on linear in that night game, you better be pretty damn good. So – make sure it's one of your better seasons. Well, if you're Arizona and you haven't been good in a long time, then you're really not even going to luck into some of those games more often than not.
So what if they discuss, as just kind of picking the brain here of this scenario. So what about, okay, you can be on Saturday night, but you can't be on Saturday night more than, let's say, 5, 6, or 7 times.
Well, then if I'm Oregon, then I'm going to be mad because I know my team is good and I want to be on primetime as much as I can.
Linear.
Yeah,
you want to be on linear as much as you can, and that's the one option you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it compares to what they've already experienced, like the Pac-12 network. I don't know all those numbers off the top of my head. I don't have any, charts handy, but I would think that, there's probably going to be a little bit of bristling at that, but, you'll have a non-conference game against Texas Tech. I don't know what that'll air on. It's in Lubbock, but does that mean it would be like a Fox broadcast? So there's, 3 non-conference games that aren't necessarily into this Pac-12 deal. So if you're on there 6 times out of 9, is that a make or break for you? Do you need 9? Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's what I'm just.
If you give someone 9, then someone's going to get 3.
Right. So I don't know. Like, how many are we comparing it to already? Like, if they are only getting 6 already as it is, then is getting 6 again that big of a deal, or is it just fine because it's what they've? That's what I mean, and not knowing the exact numbers there. But Oregon would want to be on, big time TV as much as possible. But they could become the darling of Saturday night Apple TV, I guess. But I would think they'd want some cable spots.
So let's say this: if you're ESPN and there's 13 slots, right? That's what you want. If ESPN would want any of the content, they'd want Saturday night because that's one that's open, based on whatever happens eventually with maybe what they do with the Big 12. So if you're ESPN and you want those primetime games or late night games on Saturday, don't you want to pick those games? Don't you want to say these are the games each week we want, Oregon, whoever? But if you're Apple and you're putting all this, you're the one putting up all the money and leasing basically the time to ESPN, do you want to have the choice, or do you want to split the choice? And can you ever come up with that? You know what I mean by that?
Oh, like ESPN is going to want to say, this is the game that we want every week.
If they're leasing it from Apple, basically, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, Apple owns it all, and they would lease the spot to ESPN. So,
but Apple's going to want some of these better games themselves wherever else they put them streaming.
Of course. So, hey, ESPN would love to do a deal with you, but we're going to dictate what games you get. Okay, sure. ESPN will say, sure, sign us up for Oregon State and Cal. No, of course not. So, there's a little bit of a disagreement, you would think, already there that need to be sorted out.
What ESPN's, and here's the thing, with ESPN and the deals they've made with everything else and the way that these things go, ESPN, Fox, and the ones that have multiple games throughout the day, they're going to have 3. Their goal is pretty much for you to sit there locked on and not leave until it's over. And they don't want to, open up that window for anybody else. They know that people flip around, but if that's their goal, then you're going to miss on that altogether. So I don't know. It's such a complicated thing. And looking back on this, I never thought you'd be in a position where there would not be enough linear space for a Pac-12. Yeah. It just didn't register in my mind, but when you have spent so much capital on other things, eventually somebody's going to get.
It's not a lack of space; it's a lack of money.
Yeah,
it's and I'm sure they could come up with the money, but no, they could find. I mean, Turner Networks, if they wanted to, could find a Saturday night to not play the latest rock movie and put on Washington versus Stanford instead. But do they want to pay the money to do that? Because playing the rock movie is probably way cheaper.
Own that. Here's the thing: they might own it anyway.
You're right. The Turner could, Warner, Discovery, whatever, could already own that. So that's interesting.
Now, there's somebody that has actually listened to us, watched us, has followed us, what we do, who is very much heavily involved with marketing, with clients, and also with networks and whoever else. Basically saying that 80% of any streaming, if 80% of it is Pac-12, no matter what the streamer, whoever it might be, and Apple Plus is by far the smallest streamer right now. They have about 25 million subscribers. Amazon Prime has 200 million. The NFL, of course, was on Thursday nights with Amazon Prime, who have 200 million subscribers. And yet, remember, in 2021, Fox averaged 16.4 million viewers. Amazon Prime's game, 9.6 million, a 42% drop. So that's going to come into play. And you say, okay, well, wait a minute. The Big 12 has a lot of games on ESPN Plus. That's a streamer. ESPN Plus has about the same amount of streaming subscribers as Apple Plus does at 24.9 million, and they're up 42% from the year before.
Yeah.
They also just canned the guy in charge of ESPN Plus. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but
yeah. So there's a lot going on there, and look, Peacock just posted some quarter earnings that were bad. They're gonna probably lose $3 billion in their first year,
and that's post WrestleMania.
Yeah, and the projections for a lot of these are, especially the newer ones, they're expecting to lose money. Like, they knew that they were going to lose money for a couple of years, but it's not like, the rosiest, we're going to start making money in 2025 or 2026. That was the plan all along. I don't know if the plan all along means everything that's gone on. If you look at what's going on with Warner Brothers Discovery, all that, there's so much flux in the space that it is so hard to get a read on really what is profitable and what is good for everybody. Look, Apple is going to continue to grow because Apple has so much money. Amazon has so much money, but and they're not as controlled by as many people as some of these other groups are, so they can continue just to go and go and go. But some of these other ones, I mean, it's going to be tough. Like ESPN, massive company, Disney. Disney's got a ton of problems right now. None that's going to ever end Disney, but some that they're going to make decisions on that probably aren't fun for a lot of people.
Last thing. So if the NFL dropped 42% from Fox to Amazon Prime, what would the numbers then be for the Pac-12? From what would be either ESPN or something compared to being on streaming? That's the question. And that's got to be something that's in the discussion, too. We'll take a couple more comments, Craig, and then we get to take calls.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much the ratings matter here. I mean, if you sign up for the deal on Amazon, I mean, does it really matter? I mean, I guess it does to your next contract, but beyond that, I think if you're the Pac, you're just trying to get a deal and have it respectable, and you're not really worried about getting a 6.2 in Chicago or whatever. It's not that day and age anymore. I mean, I think streaming is the the wave of the future, like a lot of people say, but we're maybe not quite there yet. Like maybe their deal came up like a couple years too early. I still wonder if they can't, kind of be the head of the spear as far as, trying to make that more of the norm. I just don't know how much of a pull that product's going to have, but if you throw USC Oregon on Apple TV or whatever, like I'm sure there will be a good number of people that will sign up for that, but do you get Oregon fatigue after a while? Or, do you get a bunch of schools that are upset because it's just who's playing Oregon or Washington on Saturday night? Because that's what the rotation could very well be. I don't know. There's just a lot of questions with that, but I think it's pretty clear that they're going to land on a streamer. It's going to be a good chunk streaming, but 80-20 is a very interesting number to have been speculated on there. And just the scenarios that you presented are interesting because we didn't cover all of this, this paper here in front of me, but depending on the topic you're speaking of, whether it's a minimum threshold of games or whether it's the percentage of streaming, then that moves the needle on which school might not love that the most, like whether it's Washington or whether it's Oregon or whether it's the Arizona schools. So there's a lot of things just based on this alone that are still needing to be figured out. And that's why we're sitting here, months down the line and not really much has seemingly changed.
Gary Wilson, Oregon and Washington late night will also have to compete with USC, UCLA in that late night spot.
Eventually, yep.
Slam dunk with a little less money or a little less likely. That's what ESPN did with the AAC. ESPN leased the AAC to CBS Sports Network. Also, one of the other comments that I want to bring up from Justin, ESPN subscribers are up because there's a lot of people who bundle it now with Disney Plus and Hulu.
Yep.
All right. 254-339-1122, the biggest storyline for you tonight with the NFL draft, and your thoughts about what we just discussed with at least what could be a scenario involving the Pac-12 and their media deal. Paul?
No callers just yet. 254-339-1122.
254-339-1122. And, by the way, we have Kim who's going to he's in Costco. Say, hey, give me a chance to get out of Costco, and then I'll get to the phone call. 254-339-1122. Barry Crawford just asked for the number. 254-339-1122 is the number to call. And I'm going to also go check to see if the text line, that's the same number for the text line, too. Let's see. Here's one from Paxton from earlier. CJ Vogel on Twitter. My predictions for the Horns in 2023 draft. Bijan becomes the first offensive player taken in the first round since 2006 for Texas. It's still a stunning stat. That's still a stunning stat. And then overall, I would think they're going to get probably 3 to 5 other players drafted. Overshown will be drafted upon maybe 2 to 3 or 4 others, depending on how everything else goes throughout the draft.
I think Keandre Coburn will get drafted. I think Moro Ojomo will get drafted. I think Roschon will get drafted. I think those are for sure. And then I'm not sure who else is in the – I'm probably leaving somebody out, but I think those guys will all get drafted.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a good night for Texas fans to celebrate a first-rounder from the offensive side for the first time in a long time. And, that's a definite later on tonight at some point. Just a matter of how long we'll be waiting from here on out. But, yeah, they'll be able to have that to build off of. It has been a while for them. And based on recruiting classes, I mean, there's a lot to feel like you've missed out on. So maybe they're starting to get the engine rumbling again, and they're going to start producing, at a higher clip than they have been based on the amount of stars they've recruited. And, maybe Bijan helps lead that way. I mean, they got good guys across the pros, but compared to the rankings and things like that, they have not produced at the level of a lot of the teams they're about to be joining, quite frankly. So, yeah, that does need to improve, and maybe that's where it starts to later on tonight.
All right, retired stockbroker. He's called 254-339-1122. Go ahead.
Retired?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Thank you. What's your first name and where you're calling from?
Well, retired stockbroker, Huntsville.
Okay, there we go. What's your topic of discussion or opinion today?
What would surprise you guys the most in the top few picks this evening?
I think what would surprise me most in the top 10, if Bijan does go in the top 10, although I've seen a lot of people projecting him 8 to the Falcons, which would surprise me. I think the Texans not selecting a quarterback is still going to surprise me. Yeah,
that's for me. That's the one. Go ahead, Paul. I'm going to cut you off.
If they don't take one at 2, will there be one available when they come back around? Of the ones they would want in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know. That would surprise me a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that won't surprise me. I mean, right now there's rumors of the Cardinals trading out of that third pick with the Titans and seeing if that happens. But we'll see. But yeah, I think that would surprise me. Those two things the most. Or if the other thing would surprise me if somehow Bryce Young is not the top overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bryce Young being number 1 overall, that not happening would be a shock. Texans not going with a quarterback at 2, like you said. I actually saw a trade scenario, and what are draft trade scenarios? I mean, I'm sure there's some of them have some legs to them, but Houston actually getting up to number 2 and 3. I saw that on one of the NFL.com mock drafts earlier today. But those seem to be the main ones, quite frankly. I guess, not seeing the rest of the quarterbacks gone by, what would you say? What would be the cutoff for the quarterbacks? Top 10-ish, how many would be remaining at that point?
Would Richardson still be there after 10?
I think he should be. I don't know if he will. I mean, again, people get...
Well, you know how they get, man, they get nervous. People get nervous. They jump in. Oh, my God, there's only 2 quarterbacks, and even, they'll overpay trade-wise for a quarterback.
And the only reason I say he should be is, he doesn't have a lot on film yet. I mean, and what he does is either fantastic or he's not even a factor. So I think that little in between, the best place for him to land would be Seattle, and I think that him at 5 at Seattle makes a ton of sense to me. Or Detroit at 6 if he's in the top 10, because again, they have veteran quarterbacks and he can sit and learn for a little while before he goes up. And retired stockbroker, thanks for your call.
Thank you for the call, Michael Campbell. What do you guys think? And Michael's a huge Notre Dame fan. What do you think about Alabama getting Tommy Rees and quarterback Tyler Buchner from Notre Dame? But Notre Dame doesn't have talent. Alabama perception is they're littered with 5 stars everywhere. But in my opinion, Ohio State, Alabama get fake 5-star talent in the recruiting rankings and become duds. Nobody questions it during recruiting. In the film, isn't there, just like last year? I truly don't see 9 recruits that are 5-star at Alabama. Somebody needs to track this across the recruiting for the top 10 classes. That's what the, was it On 3 of The Athletic did? They went back and looked at the last 4 to 6 years, and there's evidence. Alabama's still been winning, but there's some schools that had underperformed. Auburn and Texas were the ones with the most high-level players based on their record that had underperformed, and also the draft.
Yeah, look, Alabama, look, they've had one slightly down year a year ago. They lost on the last play of the game to LSU. They lost on the last play of the game to Tennessee.
Yep.
And then it's hands across America for dear God what's going on. And, you know, everybody's kind of better than that.
Wouldn't you love to have that standard? You lose 2 games in the last second, and you are basically in flames.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I do think that this quarterback issue is interesting, and Nick Saban is playing from behind for the first time in a while. So maybe there is something to that. But look, the studs that they're getting and the way that they've proven to develop people, I don't think you can really question Alabama. And right now you can't really question Ohio State. Ohio State just isn't able to finish because they're not in the realm of Georgia and Alabama right now.
Yeah, I think, Alabama just hadn't, handled that quarterback spot the way that they could have otherwise. I mean, they didn't handle it as well as they probably could have and left themselves this, eventually you're going to not hit directly on some guys. I think they've actually hit pretty well on a large number of guys, but I think they just finally ran into this logjam after Bryce Young left where there wasn't another Bryce Young waiting in the wings. There wasn't even a Jalen Hurts necessarily waiting in the wings. Just some pretty good guys who could be great when all is said and done. They're not ready right now, though. They're not ready to be those dudes right now and, I guess, live up to Alabama's incredibly high standard. But then again, they also don't necessarily have to have a Bryce Young with all the other talent around them.
Yeah.
So it is puzzling that they don't have a guy. And I don't know what exactly you would point to of like picking this guy over that guy back 2 years ago or, what direction it went wrong. If that's even the right word to use, because we probably are being a bit too negative, but it's super interesting that they had to go and get a guy post spring ball.
Yeah,
it's super interesting.
When that's the position that makes the motor run.
Yeah, I mean, they've got plenty of talent around whoever that was going to be, whether it was going to be Tyler Buckner or whoever else, even if they had, stayed in-house with Jalen Milroe or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know how it all added up to where – they just didn't feel like they already had the guy because they probably should always have the guy and have the next guy waiting in the wings and developing. And there was a little bit of a disconnect. So I'm sure we'll hear more about that as the season goes along. But as far as them picking up Tyler Buckner, I think it's a good pickup. I don't think he's like a surefire Heisman Trophy winner or, the next number 1 overall pick. There's some things, though, to love about his game, and there's some things that he needs to get better at. I mean, no doubt about it. We went to that bowl game, but he also had some turnover. He can run well, but he can turn the ball over. So he's not perfect, but he's post-spring about as good as you were probably going to get, I would think. I mean, there's not a lot of other options out there. So I think they did well to save face, and we'll see how it pans out. But there's as much of a miss rate as a hit rate. I like him more than some of the others that are just poo-pooing all over it, though. I don't feel like it's a sign that's like the end of the dynasty or anything like that.
I get it. I think most people just want it to be. I think a lot of people have been beaten up by Alabama for a decade or 12 years, whatever. They almost want it to be. Who else has a better quarterback room, though, now with Buckner? And again, there's other higher-level quarterback. Buckner, Milroe, who probably then transfers, Simpson, Lonergan, and Holstein. And then whoever else they bring in with the next class who signs in December. Yeah, Texas has a great quarterback room right now, but they used to be in disarray with theirs. Baylor, hit and miss. We don't know. Paul?
Yeah, we got 3 calls. So the first one is, I believe, from Denver, but I don't. Just
give the area code.
Yeah. From the 720, it came out kind of weird on the.
All right, 720. What's your name or your first name and where you're actually calling from?
My name is Kendall Frazier, and I'm calling from Denver, Colorado.
Great to have you, Kendall. We appreciate the call. What opinion or question do you have, sir?
Well, first of all, I just want to compliment you guys on your show. I found it a few months ago, and it's extremely well done. And I've shared with people that, you guys talk a lot about Baylor, but it's a bigger show than just Baylor sports. So keep up the good work. I'm a K-State graduate, and I'll just tell you first off, you can't have our basketball coach back. We don't want that to happen.
Well, first
he has lit a fire under the K-State alumni base, and it's incredible what he's done. And then one other comment for you, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. I don't think I've ever seen the Big 12 united as it is today. And I think a lot of that is due to the new commissioner. I think he's just done a great job of coming in and uniting the conference behind one vision. And I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
First of all, thank you, Kev. Appreciate the call from Denver, and also the fact you spread the word. And heck of a run for K-State with football and then men's basketball. We appreciate you very much. Guys, on his question about, I think that I agree with you on the loyalty and the camaraderie, so to speak. I think they almost had to come together like that because of getting hit with the bombshell in July of 21.
Yeah, I think it was totally out of necessity for sure. They had to do that, but I think that it's amazing that they did. Look, when you take Texas and Oklahoma out of this, who were kind of unilaterally, holding a lot of things up before they even decided to make the move that they did. Yeah, I think you're going to have some unification because it's like, okay, what's best for us? And you take Texas and Oklahoma out of it, you actually do have a lot of schools that are kind of the same size or at least in the same position financially as were Texas and Oklahoma, and especially Texas when you just come to like the GDP of the Texas country of football there in Austin, and athletics is so huge that you're talking about Germany versus Luxembourg a lot of the time when it comes to the economics. I'm not even trying to knock on Texas here. They're in a different stratosphere when it comes to money before all this gets said and done compared to Kansas State or Baylor or any of these other teams. So yeah, they're thinking about things on a different level before it even gets started. So I think that's going to unify people because you've got schools that are all about on the same spot.
Yeah, I think they're like-minded. They have more similarities than differences. I mean, I know each institution's got a little bit of their own uniqueness, whether that's, the Christian side of Baylor, the Mormon side of BYU, the Metro versus, country living or whatever. Like they're not all exactly the same by any means, but I think they have enough in common for survival's sake. I think, for the first time in a long time, the conference felt like it actually won. It won a big fight because, they took it on the chin with the Oklahoma-Texas thing, but they could have stayed knocked out. They could have never gotten back up again, and instead they dusted themselves off altogether. And, I'm sure there was, various conversations by everybody involved about exploring options and doing all that. And I think when they had those, they all realized, like, well, better stick together. This is we are our best friends, and we better suck it up together and fight to keep this thing going. And that's what they did. And they went to work. And I think for the first time, there's one voice. And I don't give Yormark all of the credit for that because he was hired by the commissioners and the presidents, and those are the people that really ultimately tell him what to do. But there's no denying that he's come in and brought some charisma and some excitement and some new ideas. I just feel like the Big 12 is getting stale. You know what? It was just kind of there. Even with Oklahoma and Texas, it's just kind of like it's just there. There's nothing super unique about it, and there's still a work in progress as far as just the uniqueness of it all. But at least they're trying some new things. Like they're breaking free from the old shackles, so to speak, and kind of spreading their wings and exploring things and trying to be new and cutting edge. And not all that's going to hit, but it's drummed up some creativity and some excitement.
Yep.
And I think they desperately needed that. So you have everybody on the same page for the first time in conference history other than when they launched. And you've got everybody feeling like they're equals now, which they never felt like until Texas and Oklahoma decided to leave. And you've got just this energy because there's excitement about what could still be to come and about what they've all formed together. So it's a combination of factors, and it's turned into a fun thing for the Big 12.
Great stuff. Great questions. We appreciate the call from Denver. Also appreciate the call from retired stockbroker as well. 254-339-1122. Lorenzo, if ESPN subleases games from Apple, doesn't most of that money go to Apple? Wouldn't the Pac-12 make minimal money from the sublease that is paid by ESPN?
No, I think that, and then money just goes back to Apple for what they've already bought, right? So they're going to guarantee the Pac-12 this number. So you're going to have, here's the total number per year that you're going to get. And so those subleasing those games back just means Apple uses some of ESPN's money to, I would think, pay the Pac-12.
JG Neolardo, I have not been this proud of the Big 12 since 2000 to 2010.
Yeah, that's back during the run where they had multiple teams in the top 10 all the time.
Keelani.
Yeah, let's go back to the so is that basically like, I guess asking is Apple would buy the combo meal for like, I know combo meals are no longer $10 basically anywhere unless it's like apple slices in a thing of water, but a combo meal for like $10 and ESPN pays them $3 for the French fries and they use the $3 to fund the other games they're buying. Well, I mean, I guess that's basically how it would work is they're getting the majority of it, but they're getting paid a little sliver for some of their meal. Is that basically the best way? Or not? I know it's not the best way to put it.
I'm not sure if it is or not. That's a great question. Keelani, responding to Lorenzo's question, yeah, they'd be a broker, yet it would get the Pac-12 games shown on linear TV, which is what some are saying they need, which is the linear percentage and the dollars, whatever they could possibly put together.
So, yeah, it offsets some of the costs. And if you're Apple, you also want to have a good relationship, right? And you don't want to have them stuck to where there's not more visibility. So I guess, yeah, you'd be, I think, okay with the idea of spreading the love and getting them on some ESPN as well. But, yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear more of a, professional question or like an answer, like a Bob Thompson or somebody could answer that a lot better than we could.
We'll have to get him on. From Katie Rader, since it's a point of contention over and over, who do we need to get in contact with to get a consortium with the conference members academically and research-wise like the Pac-12 or the Big Ten?
I mean, I don't know that you can make up years and years of history and planning and organization and I don't think that's in the cards I know that like Baylor, for example, is trying to improve as an institution, writes grants and research and all of that. But yeah, I don't know that you could really do anything that's all that feasible and that would occur so quickly that many of us would be able to see the results from it that would lead up to matching the Pac-10 or the Big Ten's academic prowess. I think that's just not going to be one of those cards the Big 12 has to play, at least not in the foreseeable future.
Sometimes it took some decades and decades.
Yeah, it's a process.
100 years or so.
Can we go back to a couple of the others, though? Because I rounded back around.
Yeah.
But you mentioned a couple of others I don't think we touched on.
Which one was it?
You rattled off a couple, and I circled back to the question about the splitting of the fees. So I don't know exactly. I apologize. But you mentioned, I forget the name now. So anyways, I guess move on.
Well, I'm trying. There's some other questions here that are about the draft. Do you think the Titans will trade Derrick Henry?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, here's another one. And you guys, where does Max Duggan end up?
6th or 7th round. I think the Cowboys actually have entertained that. I think that now that Mike McCarthy's there, they might be in that Packers thing of where you draft a quarterback every year, every other year that's a developmental guy. Look, they've got a 2-year deal with Cooper Rush. He's going to be the backup for the next 2 years, but eventually he's going to price himself out of that. So, if you can develop the next Cooper Rush, maybe that is Max Duggan. I do think that they maybe like Adrian O'Connell from Purdue a little bit more, but Max Duggan, 6th, 7th round, I see him going somewhere around there.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on waiting for him to get picked because you are probably looking at day 3. I mean, as far as fits, is like who needs quarterbacks or who needs quarterback depth. I mean, there's a couple teams I saw mentioned with him, and it could have been just wild speculation, like the Broncos, for example, because of Russell Wilson, is obviously their starter there, but Max Duggan's not getting drafted to be a starter in day 1. So he goes sit behind Russell and be an emergency guy. But, I mean, there's probably been every team thrown out for him in some form or fashion on social media. So, yeah, I don't know about a particular landing spot, especially for a guy that's going to be going that late. There's not really, like, this priority focus like there would be for Bryce Young where we can, like, whittle it down. We can whittle it down for for the first round guys and a little bit beyond. But yeah, that late it's impossible to project. But yeah, that's about when you'd probably see him go.
JG, I love how the Big 12 Conference took it on the chin, punched back with unity, and a national championship game. Yeah, TCU, of course, was in the national championship game, and we thought maybe Texas or K-State might do that, or Kansas in basketball.
That was huge. That was huge no matter what that game looked like, which was not great, obviously. But who would have, done better other than like an Alabama or someone like that? But, yeah, I mean, the
Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs. Yeah, basically. I mean, that's what Georgia's turning into, is just a machine like that. So, yeah, that wasn't a good look. But, I mean, the fact that they got there, I mean, you think about had they not, what kind of questions are still being thrown and lobbed at the Big 12? Y'all can't get to the playoff without us. Y'all can't, and really that was only Oklahoma that could say any of that. But can't get to the playoff without us. You'll never get to a national championship game without us. Whatever kind of garbage your trash talk you wanted to throw out there, the only thing you can say now is, well, you can't win a national title. It's like, well, when's the last time you won one? It's been a little while, hasn't it? So, and I don't think that that's necessarily coming any sooner for either one of those schools, given where they're going. Who knows, though? Expanded playoff, more money, whatever. I just I think that TCU getting there proved a major point that there is a path, not just for Big 12 schools that are remaining, but for non-Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma schools in general. Is there is a way. It has to be special, and everything has to fall perfectly, but there is a way.
Look,
and that's all you want is a chance to have a way.
The expanded playoff and the transfer portal will create more parity. Now, will it create the kind of parity that we probably all want? No, because the economic system is already slanted in the favor of the big dogs anyway. But you're talking about being able to, bite off a national championship once in a while where you haven't been before. That's what you're going to see. I mean, so when you think about, some deep runs by Cinderellas in the NCAA tournament, yeah, occasionally you're going to see a St. Peter's in the Final Four. This is not
Florida
that
Atlantic.
Yeah, a Florida Atlantic. You're going to see that more than you would because the rules are different. But still, the Georgias of the world who are spending more money than everybody on recruiting are still going to be really good. But if you can get them on that one day, that's what matters.
If they're better equipped to win a 2-game playoff, damn sure going to be better equipped to win a expanded playoff, and that's not going to change. But, the right team, the right situation, the right magic, and right cast of characters, and you can go on a little bit of a run. But regardless of what happens with the expanded playoff, a non-Oklahoma Big 12 team did make the 14 playoff, and not only made it, but they won a game before Oklahoma did. And I'm an Oklahoma fan, so I'm not talking S here. I'm just saying for all that mess about like carrying the conference and all that, when it comes to money, a lot of that's true. But TCU, I think, kind of did something for the rest of the schools of like, yeah, we can reach a similar level, if not past it as well. And that was big.
You can't win it if you don't get there. Let's see. Rapid fire. Paxton, is Will Levis going to be a bust?
I have no idea.
I don't pretend to be a quarterback guru, so I wouldn't feel right saying one way or the other, honestly.
From Tony, God, this thing went fast. From Tony, if the Pac-12 After Dark is the best game for linear, the Pac-12 is in trouble.
I don't love here's a printout. This isn't just, grabbing stuff out of thin air. It's from our website of just various things about this. And there's some things that you could definitely see, and we touched on some of them where, just surviving is the goal. But it does make you wonder that even if they survive this time around, and I know everybody's already looking down the line at the next wave of what could happen in the ACC, but that really is at this point. We have no indication that won't be years from now. A lot would have to move. Some mountains would have to move for Florida State and Clemson, Paul, to jump up in the next couple. So it's fun to think about, but it's not all that realistic at the moment. So I think that there's some questions about this, but it might be your only option. And for some of these schools like Utah, as we pointed out, they just simply survival is a win for them. So it might not be ideal, but it beats the alternative of the thing fizzling and ceasing to exist.
Yes, the ACC is going to have to go to the Supreme Court. Honestly,
it might. Justin R., this is a question then a call. I just hope that the expanded playoff doesn't give the highest-ranked G5 champion automatically the number 12 seed by default. I think the other champions who didn't get a bye should host a game. So he's talking about the conference champions, 2 of the Power 5 who don't get a bye, and there's 5 Power 5s. or highest ranked should get a home game. I think that's what they do get, isn't it?
Well, it just depends
It
on
would
where they're
depend on the
ranked.
rankings.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
if you're who would it even be now? Who would be the best candidate? Tulane, and you are like the number 7 ranked, and I don't know the numbers in my head, but if you're like the number 7 ranked team, I would think you'd host like the number 10 Auburn seeded Tigers. So yeah, I mean, so long as you don't finish in that last spot, I would think that there will be an opportunity each year for that to happen, but it all depends on where they're ranked.
Last call, and then we break and come back with Paul's top 5.
Kim Coulter.
There he is.
There he is. Finally got it at Costco. A fantastic place. I wish we had one here. Kim, thanks for your call.
Good afternoon, Kim.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, Kim? Good to have you.
Let's get the obligatory thank you out of the way to you guys. First, I absolutely love the show. As you guys have seen in the chat room, I listen to Paul, and I'll leave that alone, Paul F., for 16 plus years. I stumbled upon you guys, listened to it once, I thought, yeah, okay, that's fine, but they're Baylor guys. I came back, listened to it again, and have been hooked ever since. The show is fantastic, the dichotomy of personalities, but not only between you three, but the prolific chat room people are unbelievable. So, I mean, it's been such a joy to find you guys and actually participate. All right.
Thank you.
That's really what I wanted to share with you, and I absolutely love it. Paul, I'm actually acquiescing and coming around to your point of view on the clock stoppage. So, kudos to you in the top 5. Believe it or not, even though it's short, is one of my very favorite segments.
Oh, thank you.
You guys haven't, David and Craig, you guys are suffering Commanders fans. I almost said the R word.
Yeah.
So you guys haven't talked about what your hopes are for Washington. What do you guys want to see your Commanders do in the draft? And thank you again, fellas.
Kim, thank you so much for the call and all the things you do for us as well. You have sent a couple of nice gifts, and we appreciate that. I think they need a corner. They need somebody that their defensive front's pretty good, but I do think that they need someone. I would think, what is it, Joey Porter Jr. is one of the names that I've seen pop up, but I'm not that entrenched in the draft. Craig?
Garrett, do you have any thoughts on this? You're also a Commanders fan.
I just want a quarterback. I need a quarterback.
Please,
yes. Come on.
They're too far down.
I know, but something.
And they're the ones that will take the risk on an Anthony Richardson and probably end up being a bust.
Well, you know, one of the things going out, I don't know if y'all saw the headline, but they did not pick up the 5th-year option on Chase Young.
Yeah. That was weird, though, because they've got him and Montez Sweat both coming up next year.
Their entire D-line is like every year they're going to have to rework these contracts.
Yeah, so...
Which is great. They had those guys, and it was cool to see them all drafted, but then there comes a point where, you do have to pay them, and it's like, how much can you possibly spend on just defensive line? Because they've drafted the hell out of that position.
Yep.
But, again, how much do you allocate to just those positions up front?
I looked at the mock on ESPN. Emmanuel Forbes, one of the corners from Mississippi State, so that's at least where a trending is going towards that position.
Yeah, I think a lot's on the table for them. I'm with Garrett, though. Like I've got kind of draft fatigue of just them not having a quarterback for all these years. I mean, it's at this point it's just become ridiculous. Whether it's Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace, or Taylor Heineke, or just the number of guys really since. I mean, when would you go back to RG3? It finally felt like they had found a place.
Cousins was manageable.
Cousins right after that was manageable, but
and then
clearly
they pissed him off.
Yeah, they didn't treat him well, and he didn't like it there, and he wanted to leave, and so they've just had such instability there. But yeah, corner makes a lot of sense. But I mean, quite frankly,
just talent.
They just need talent. Yeah, and not necessarily at D lineman. They could not go D line, and I think they'd be okay there. But everything else is pretty much on the table.
Thank you so much for the calls. We appreciate that. And coming up, the top 5. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on. They are people who have helped me out when I've been in a pinch with a couple of wrecks that I got into. I needed some damage repaired and went on over to Richard Carr and talked to the good folks like Donnie over there, and they hooked me up and squared me away, and just a little bit of time later had my car looking like brand new on their lot, and I do appreciate them for that. But they can help you out in a variety of different ways, whether it's their customer service, whether it's their work on your vehicle, whether it's even getting work done that's not a wreck per se or damage. It's just getting oil changes, getting your car
fluid and fixed up right. And also, of course, they're in the business of selling cars. So right now, their 24th anniversary sales event is going on, and they have big savings on pre-owned cars and trucks like the GMC Sierra and Buick Envision SUVs. Dozens of Sierra trucks on the lot. Qualified buyers can save $3,000 on 2023 GMC Sierra SLT or SLE 1500s. You can also, for qualified buyers, get 2.9% financing on the new 2023 GMC Sierra truck. So, I know it's a lot of numbers spitting at you. Just give them a ring or head on over to the dealership, head on over to the website, and they will provide you with plenty of clarity and help you walk through the process of their various offers. If you're not looking at a Sierra, they've also got the Buick SUVs, the Encores, the Envisions, the Enclaves, all of them luxurious, but without the luxury price. You can save thousands right now for qualified buyers. Get low financing on Buick Enclave Premiums or Buick Enclave Avenires. And if you're not looking to buy new, they have a lot full of quality pre-owned cars and trucks as well, many of them under $20,000. They're thoroughly inspected, and they're affordable, and they're ready to finance no matter your credit rating or for almost any credit rating. Quality vehicles, new and pre-owned, ready to drive today. And as I mentioned, they've also got the great customer service department that will keep you on the road. Go to richardcar.com, and you can see all of their service specials. Set an appointment there for quick and reliable repair. So go on and check out the people who have been in business for 24 years in Central Texas and that has built a reputation over those 2 decades, plus as the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Run by proud Central Texans. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Aaron Duvall, owner, Texas Beef House. Why did you get into this business?
We kind of were born into it, and it's been for several generations. Our family's been in the beef business, the ranching business, and we've specifically got into the beef business back in about 2015 when me and my son decided to form Texas Beef House and sell directly to the public.
Aaron, everyone knows about Wagyu and how elite that is when it comes to beef. What separates you from anyone else that may do this in this type profession? We selected out Wagyu mainly because it's such a quality beef, and it's consistent. Some beef, some breeds, you may have a good animal every now and then, but Wagyu produces really consistently good beef every time. Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Top 5 teams who could shake up the draft. And not all these teams have picks in the top 5. 3 of them do currently. 1 of them could, and 2 of them could by the end of the evening. But number 5, the Lions, they have picks at 6 and 18. They had their first positive growth in a long time in Detroit. And it's the NFL. You got to strike while the iron's hot. There's a lot of heat around Dan Campbell for, giving this team some juice for the first time ever. Might as well, maybe make something happen with those picks. It's not just 6 and 18, but they could shake up the draft in later rounds too, because they do have a lot of picks. But 6 and 18, I think they could really make something happen. Would not be surprised to see them take a quarterback, especially if one of them falls. Like if they take say a defense, say they take Jalen Carter at number 6 if he falls there. They've got Jalen Carter at number 6. If somebody's sitting around at, 14 or 15, one of those quarterbacks like Will Levis, maybe you want to get up in front of Washington to go get him. Yeah, maybe they do that too.
How about a wide receiver to replace the guy who's suspended for a third of the season?
Yeah, I don't know. If I were them, I would not draft wide receivers in the first round. It's not been a good thing.
Jordan Addison, and that'd be great, but you got much more pressing needs, I think, than that.
Yeah.
So
they are a team with that seems like they're on the up, but Campbell's done there.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 4, the Eagles. They're at 10 and at 30. They could package those and move up. Here's, I think, the Cowboy fans' great fear. Jeff Kavanaugh put this in my brain. And Jeff Kavanaugh, if you're a Cowboys fan, go to his YouTube channel, watch him. He's really good at a lot of things. I really enjoyed Jeff's stuff. But he did put this in my head of, okay, look, everybody talking about Bijan, but if they've got 10 and 30 and the Texans are not going to draft Will Anderson, that, to me, is an Eagles move right there of packaging 10 and 30 and moving up to get Will Anderson to say he falls to 6, and you've got the Lions there who may, they'd probably take him. But say he falls to 5. Well, the Seahawks, they may not, there's a lot of things you can do there. So I think the Eagles, they're at 10, and then having that one at 30, which could also be them loading up on later draft picks for somebody wanting to come back in and say draft Hendon Hooker. At the end of the first round.
Yeah, I really thought you were going to say Bijan at 10. I mentioned the Austin Eckler poisoning of my Twitter feed earlier. That's the next thing I need to get purged of is the Bijan Eagles talk, and whether it's legitimate or not, but I've just seen so much of it. And so that's where I thought you were going with that. I know that would ruffle some Cowboys feathers as well, potentially, but that would be interesting to see them take him 10. That's pretty high. Even if he's a great player. But, yeah, the Eagles have a lot of cards on the table that they could deal, and very interesting given, they're right there on that cusp of, Super Bowl championships, so they're going to be out there hunting for sure.
Yeah.
They lost a lot on defense, right?
Yeah.
The offensive line's still pretty much intact?
Yeah. Their offensive line, but here's the thing. They've got older guys on that line, so there are good players that are, they're going to, Howie Roseman's really good at his job. He is really good at his job, and you've given the guy coming off the Super Bowl runner-up 2 picks in the first round.
No, that's how you keep winning, and you had one that because of a trade, you ended up getting an extra pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Numbers 3 and 2 are kind of entwined right here, but we'll talk about the Tennessee Titans right now. Ryan Tannehill expiring deal, Derrick Henry expiring deal. Now, I could see Derrick Henry getting traded, not Ryan Tannehill, based on the fact that you're in a good situation if you can trade up to 3, which is rumored right now. Now, part of that would be they might trade 3 for 11 and also get DeAndre Hopkins. Now, while you say that might be out of whack, DeAndre Hopkins would be a total salary dump by the Cardinals, so that, makes it okay for them. And maybe there's some other draft picks on the end of that. And I don't know if the Titans want to do the Julio Jones thing all over again with DeAndre Hopkins, but if they could go up and get C.J. Stroud and have him sit for a year behind Tannehill or be ready when Tannehill seemingly inevitably gets hurt this year to play, I think that's a good deal. I don't know why all of a sudden all this smoke's out there on C.J. Stroud. I've watched C.J. Stroud play a ton at Ohio State. I don't care about the S2 cognition test or anything else that's gone on. That dude ripped it up as much as anybody in this year's draft did. And yes, he had great talent around him. Well, he's going to have NFL talent around him there. I think he's got a huge upside. If I'm the Titans and I can get the 3 and take C.J. Stroud, I am gosh darn doing it.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it'd be a good move for them.
I think C.J. Stroud's – here's the big knock on C.J. Stroud. He's so good, he's boring. Like, what have you seen him do terribly? Nothing. What have you seen him – like, he's not, like, a super fast – like, he's not Anthony Richardson, who looks like he was built in a lab when you were at the – out there doing drills and shorts. But, I mean, all the guy did was win. He lost, like, 3 games this whole time, 4 games in college. Come on.
At a program that is among the top 2 to 4 of the elite blue bloods in college football.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 2, the Cardinals. They don't need to really be at number 3. They need to load up on picks. They need to clear salary. This is, by many accounts, one of the most, I'll call it not worst, but wonky rosters in the NFL right now. They've got to balance some things out. They just paid Kyler Murray a bunch, which means they need to save some more money. I think trading out of that pick at number 3 behooves them greatly. If not, stay there and draft Will Anderson, and that's fine. But ultimately, I think you've got to, if you're the Cardinals, you need to maybe even move down twice. Like if you say you move down from 3 to 11, maybe move down from 11 to 18. I don't know. Like that to me, just load up on as many picks as you can, save as much money as you can, try to build some talent. Jonathan Gannon's the new coach there. They have to build around Kyler Murray for the long term. I think you're going to need as many players as you can to do that.
Yeah, they're in a weird spot. I'm tired of hearing about Kyler, and I love Kyler Murray, and he's a great player and all that, but I'm so sick. I want to hear about him when he's winning football games.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole off the field and just the disagreements or whatever weird tension there has been with the Cardinals. I know some of that dissipated with Kingsbury being gone and all that, but Kyler's just been talked about for all the wrong reasons. It feels like or a lot of the wrong reasons for the last year. But yeah, I mean, they're in a weird spot. I'm just different in that the biggest story around the Cardinals to me was their debut of their new uniforms a week or so ago. Did you see those?
Yeah.
They were fine. They were very much an Ohio State ripoff. I don't know if everybody saw them. I never saw them. They were a pretty blatant Ohio State ripoff, but somebody at Nike probably got paid handsomely to design them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go check them out if you haven't already. Not really missing anything, but yeah, I mean, they definitely are in a spot, like you said, where they need to make something happen, so I could see that.
Yeah, they absolutely, to steal a Seinfeld reference, they ripped off a Ziggy with those uniforms.
Yeah.
Elaine did a cartoon, and it was just a Ziggy that she had ripped off.
It's very much an Ohio State copy in some ways.
Yeah, number 1, the Texans. If they do not draft a quarterback at number 2, this thing's going to get wild, especially if nobody's traded up to the Cardinals for number 3. Right? So if they draft, say, Tyree Wilson, which is where the heat is right now on that, that's what John McClain thinks. And I trust him on the Texans more than anybody, maybe even Nick Caserio. He might know more than their actual GM. But if they don't draft a quarterback and nobody's traded up with Arizona yet, which I think is probably Arizona's dream scenario, then open the floodgates because people are going to come for that.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans are in a nice spot. They could very well stay where they are and be fine, or trade down and be fine, and trade back up and be fine. I think the world's their oyster in so many ways outside of the number 1 overall pick, but they have to know by now what that's going to be, Bryce Young. So I'm sure they've ran through 1,000 scenarios in their head, and they'll get I probably received a few dozen phone calls at this point because there does seem to be an appetite for some teams to move around. So they're sitting pretty. I'd be excited if I'm a Texans fan, but also a little bit leery as well. And I'm fascinated to see how D'Amico Ryans goes about this.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. The draft, we're about to have evidence, like games being played, except now we'll have players going to specific franchises. And unlike the NBA, there'll be somebody that's drafted who won't be traded by the time he puts the hat on, when he's up on the stage with the commissioner or whoever is there in the green room. All right, great stuff. Emery Winter, Garrett Ross, fantastic. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, great stuff today. We appreciate the calls today. Those of you in the chat room, those of you who contacted us as well on the text line, our great sponsors. Back at it again tomorrow at 3. Don't forget tonight, 10:30 Sports Tonight on the CW. I'm David Smoak. Good night.